Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the United States of a Movie podcast. This is what makes Mondays, that's a great way of putting it, makes Mondays a great thing to do, doesn't it? Let's get a bottle of water. I'm Oli Pettigrew, I'm a gargantuan movie fan, and this is the movie podcast where, as a crew, we try to answer a question that is basically impossible. We try to define each state in the United States by just one movie, which has become a very, very fun debate, and a debate that I really enjoy because of the two co-hosts that I have, huge movie fans in their own rights, movie makers, graphic designers, and they have fabulous hair. So first of all, Ryan Sander, welcome back to the show, mate.
Oh man, I don't know if you can tell, but I made sure to turn my air conditioning off, so I've got this like sweaty glow I'm going to try and maintain throughout the entire episode because wow, this was a sweaty one.
Things got sweaty. Things got sweaty for sure. Things got really, really interesting as well in every single one of these movies, which we will be getting into. But before we do that, let's welcome our other amazing co-host, Will Hirsch. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm, as you can see, I'm a Dapper Dan man through and through.
That's right.
So don't give me no other pomade, just the Dapper Dan man.
We were a Murray's family.
Ain't no fuck. Geographical oddity, 2 weeks from every day, this podcast. The reason that we're making all these ridiculous jokes and references is because the state that we're taking down this particular week is the state I cannot spell, Mississippi, the sweatiest state of all of them, especially if you watch one of the movies, the one that I picked in particular, the one that popped into my head because I guess when I saw it in the 90s, it was very much the, oh, Mississippi. And then I go, oh, Mississippi. It's kind of, things are happening in Mississippi. But I went with 1996's A Time to Kill, directed by Joel Schumacher of The Client and Batman and Bat Nipples fame. But with one of the most stacked casts, I think, of any movie we've had on the show so far. I mean, let me just go through it quickly. Samuel L. Jackson, Matthew McConaughey, Sandra Bullock, Kevin Spacey, Charles S. Dutton, Donald and Kiefer Sutherland, Ashley Judd, Chris Cooper, Octavia Spencer, Kurtwood Smith, Anthony Heald. I mean, and the list honestly does go on. Absolutely bonkers cast, and an absolutely bonkers movie as well.
They just said, let's get all of the villains from every movie and just put them into one place. And who would have thought that one of the actors would have become a real life villain?
yeah, not the one you think.
Yeah. I'm looking at you, Kurtwood Smith.
Clarence Boddicker himself has a fiery performance, to say the least. Crispy performance.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you could say it was well done.
We will get back to that. Ryan, you brought a movie to the table that honestly, when you mentioned on our text thread that you hadn't seen it, both Will and I had to kind of do the way. What?
Yeah. I have a lot of Cohen Brothers blind spots in my movie history, and my issue with them is that they're in such high regards as like forever cult classics that by the time I've seen them, I already feel like I've seen it. So the magic is a little more difficult for me to kind of latch onto. So, but I appreciate watching, that movie or their movies with fresh eyes. And this one was no different. It was such a fucking blast. And I love that they're also folksy and grounded, and every character is just at the top of their game. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you've done your favorite thing, Ryan, of like talking about the movie and not talking about what the actual movie is.
It's early. I picked Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Because again, I'd never seen it, and it's such an iconic film, and just, I mean, not in terms of the movie, but also in terms of just filmmaking in general. I think it was the first one to use like proper post-process color grading.
It was the first movie that was completely color graded digitally.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Credit to Bobby D on that one.
It was Roger Deakins. Yeah, there's a Cohen Brothers movie directed by Joel Cohen, but everyone just calls it, Cohen Brothers because it's written, directed.
The Cobras.
They always kind of share that with another incredibly stacked cast: George Clooney, John Turturro, Tim Blake Nelson, Charles Durning, John Goodman stealing the movie, as always, as he
yeah.
does in a Coen Brothers movie. Holly Hunter, Chris Thomas King, Daniel Van Barger. It just, again, incredible cast, incredibly shot, and such a joy to watch. I have to be honest, such a quotable movie. I mean, there are many things from this movie that my wife and I do just kind of say to each other. She said her piece in Canada 3. It's like just things like that. I say he's bona fide all the time. He's a suitor.
See, that does nothing for me because I've only seen this movie the one time. So when you had said it's such a quotable movie, I'm watching this thinking like, what quotes are you pulling? Like, how are you using this in context?
I'm voting for yours truly. I'm voting for yours truly. I'm with you guys.
Steve Fellers. God. Yeah, no, this is like of all the Coen Brothers movies, I think this and Raising Arizona are probably their most accessible to like a wide audience. Because I've met one or two weirdos that don't like Fargo. Like totally strange people. But like this one, and then Big Lebowski is always like the other one where it's like, the first time everybody watches that one, almost everyone is like, I don't get it. And then for some reason they watch it 9 more times and then they're like, this is my favorite movie.
I had the same reaction. Like it was so long until I'd seen the Big Lebowski, and I just watched it fairly recently because I think it was like an anniversary or something like that. And it was just on a streaming platform, and I watched it. I'm like, I don't get it. Like I don't see it just didn't connect with me. I don't know why. Like I understand why it's such a cult classic, but it just didn't.
It does seem to be a common reaction to Coen Brothers movies.
Yeah.
I can see that. Like, say, like we were talking about Fargo. I've seen Fargo once, and I know I tried to watch it once when I was 14, and I turned it off because I found that I found it so annoying. And then when I finally did watch it, I'm like, wow, this is a really good movie, but it's one I don't often go back to. I'm really, like I said, I've only watched it once. Whereas Oh Brother it's just, I love it. Raising Arizona cracks me up.
See, for me, it was always like No Country for Old Men was like, it seems like such an outlier in their filmography, and I absolutely love that movie because it really breaks their kind of norm of what they're known for, and it's
but another one I've only watched once. Same with True Grit. True Grit was dope, you know what I mean? And it's like honestly, and that's kind of them stepping away a little bit from just the pure Coen Brothers of it all, and sort of like remaking a movie, but they did it so well, and it was fun and so well shot and everything else in between. I mean, I've never seen Blood Simple.
Oh, that's a good one to check out. Yeah.
They're very I've never seen Hail Caesar. I started Burn after reading, wasn't in the mood, turned it off. So it's like, that's the thing with Coen Brothers, and it's like, and I own Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And I've had it for a while, but it's been ages since I've watched it, because I was like, oh, all right, and I put it on, and I'm laughing so much. I'm like, man, this movie cracks me up.
Maybe the best part about doing this podcast is like rediscovering, movies, whether you've seen it 100 times or never before. It's such a joy to kind of discover or rediscover a film.
Well, you're right, because the rediscovery is definitely something I enjoy, but it's the discovery of fucking gems like the movie that Will brought to the table. Will, I'd never even heard of this movie. Please enlighten the world for this wonderful piece of shit.
So many questions. I have so many questions.
I brought the movie that hits harder than Stone Cold, the sequel to Cobra, I believe, because it even opens almost exactly the same way.
Actually,
just more products get shot.
That's funny enough. Exactly what Ryan and I did. We did a sort of a live watch over FaceTime. We wanted to do it with Will, but Will was busy watching highfalutin movies. But this movie, if you haven't heard of it, I'm not surprised. 1991, stars Brian Bosworth. Now, if you're like me and you're like, who? I learned American football player, the Boz, but also kind of got a stacked cast. Lance Henriksen looking quite sexy.
Crushing it.
Yeah.
Just crushing it.
William Forsythe also absolutely crushing it. Sam McMurray playing Lance. But I know him from Addams Family Values, the dad.
Yes.
The super white bread dad from Addams Family Values.
Such a great character actor. Like,
He was great. This movie ripped off so many movies. Even the ending with Lance is the exact ending from Die Hard.
Yep.
Yeah,
great.
But
it's we said last night, like,
it's even shot for shot the same.
It's insane. We even said,
incredible.
like, in a time before AI, it was like this movie was just an amalgam generated by a computer, and it plopped out this, and they ended up with Brian Bosworth.
Honestly,
First pick.
Give me more Brian Bosworth. That's all I understood from this movie. It's a movie that I expected Hard Ticket to Hawaii, and what instead I got was a banging 90s action movie.
Yeah.
Shit blows up. Great. Some random 90s boobs pop up. And I'm like, this movie, again, it actually is not a bad movie.
It's a perfectly watchable movie. And I think should we just get into it? I mean,
well, we'll see. I'll tell you, because we've got a little bit more info because because it's like directed by Craig R. Baxley, who was a stuntman and action director. Now, initially, the original director actually dropped out. And so apparently there's this whole sort of like 4 weeks worth of shooting a backstory of the boss's wife, kid, sister, all cut out. Thank God. That's all I'm gonna say.
Would have absolutely dragged this movie down.
But they left the monitor lizard in.
They left, exactly. That's all he needs. He's a dude that's got a monitor lizard called Fido. And I'm like, come on, this is just give me more.
Played by a young Adam Driver.
Yeah.
No, I think it's actually
his
real life pet, whatever the fuck it is.
It's a lizard of some kind. I'm sure iguana.
It's not an iguana.
No.
I know my lizard.
It was a dog, right? It was a dog.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, Ryan, I had a moment this morning when I was doing a little bit of research. So one, this is the same director of one of Will's favorite movies, Action Jackson. But I was watching this movie and I was like throwing out these quotes. And I go, oh my God, you know what this movie reminds me of? This crazy Dolph Lundgren movie with this alien that comes in and says, I come in peace. Ryan, it's directed by the same guy.
Shut up. You were talking about that last night.
Dude, like, I can't believe I pulled that one from a VHS that I watched at the age of maybe 12 or
What's
10.
the alien movie where it shoots discs and then you just kind of petered out and
that's it.
hang
So
on that one?
it's actually called Dark Angel, but also called I Come in Peace. I watched it as Dark Angel. It was Dolph Lundgren. We like Dolph Lundgren. And yes, it's an alien that comes to Houston, Texas. Guess which movie we're doing when we come back to Texas next day. But yes, you essentially shoot CDs, which are like programmed to just slice people's throats. And it like totally scared me. But and I love that they give it away in the trailer. But it's like all this alien does is just walk into place and go, I come in peace, and then kills everybody. And of course, the big line is, and you'll go in pieces.
Fuck yeah. It sounds like it's almost like a McBain line from The Simpsons.
Dude, nice to see you.
Yeah.
That's actually the plot. The alien that comes down says, I come in peace, and then kills everybody. That's the plot of The Predator. If you haven't seen that movie, the Shane Black one, that's the exact.
I haven't seen that one.
Don't. That's like one of the worst things.
Yeah, I heard it got chopped to pieces. Funny you should mention McBain. This is one of those things that when I finally, this is where you got to love the internet. Because like all Simpsons fans, I grew up on Simpsons, and like the McBain bits were always so funny.
Great.
And but if you take all of the clips of McBain movies and you cut them together, it's actually a mini movie.
What do you mean if someone's done that? That's
what I mean. I can't believe that they go that deep, that whenever they pull a reference, it's if you put it all together, you can watch a McBain action movie.
There's certain Simpsons lines that will forever be burned into my head, and if like I ever stub my toe or something, I'll just like kneel on the floor and go, Mendoza. Fucking great.
I love quoting McBain. It's like it's talking.
This is such a McBain movie. I'm shocked we didn't think of that last night watching it.
It's my new movie. It's called McBain, Let's Get Silly. It's me in front of a brick wall for 2 hours. It cost $100 million to produce. And I just always, because the line is, how do you sleep at night? On a bed of money, surrounded by many beautiful ladies. And I'm like, I remember that my whole life. But I'm telling you what we're going to do, guys. We're not going to start with Stone Cold, the absolute banger, with a bunch of Mississippi biker Nazis. We're not going to start with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, which has a very entertaining dancing Ku Klux Klan. No, we're going to go to A Time to Kill, the Ku Klux Klan basically, Mississippi, we've decided you guys need better PR.
What are you
someone
doing?
needs to send us a movie that doesn't involve the Ku Klux Klan, Nazis, or racial problems.
And we often say we're going to be more inclusive. This is not what we meant by that.
No.
To be clear.
We're going to start.
All three of us just threw rocks at movies in Mississippi and just happened to, hit movies with KKK.
Yeah. We all rallied together and decided this is going to be our
Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? That put the KKK in comedy. But no, we're going to start with A Time to Kill, which is back in the days of the 90s.
The most 90s movie.
Yeah, because in the 90s, if you wanted to make $200 million, you made a John Grisham movie.
Oh, yeah.
This is part of the Grisham cinematic universe. 7 films of his were adapted, 6 of them basically courtroom dramas, you know, Pelican Brief, Rainmaker, The Client. The Client also directed 2 years before by Joel Schumacher. But one that I learned is, and a movie I have seen as well that my dad does enjoy, Christmas with the Cranks is John Grisham.
Shut the fuck up.
Really?
Yes. So it's actually called like Away for Christmas or Not for Christmas. But the adaptation of a John Grisham Christmas novel is Christmas with the Cranks.
And that was his blank check movie.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it.
Studio's like, do whatever you want. That's what he got.
So look, if you've never seen this movie, it is full on, okay?
Yeah.
But it is actually so full on that it is also quite ridiculous about how much happens, because the inciting incident is awful. Nicky Katt and some other guy playing the 2 most redneckian rednecks in the history of redneckdom commit a crime that has happened in the history of America. This has happened. A 10-year-old girl is walking home. She's black. They are white rednecks driving around in their pickup truck. And it is a horrible, horrible attempted murder, sexual assault. It's just, it's awful.
Yeah,
but what that does is Samuel L. Jackson, the father, in an absolutely just banger role, playing it, just absolutely killing it, basically in the courthouse where they're going to be arraigned or whatever, bursts out, murders them on the spot, hence the A Time to Kill, and that sets up the whole thing, which is Matthew McConaughey, a local sort of just, you know, trying to get things going, a lawyer who's going to defend him, has known him for years, and then you've got Kevin Spacey. He's the district attorney that's like, this is it, this is the one that we've been waiting for, so he's trying to make his career off the back of sending this guy down for the death penalty. And then what triggers basically is everyone's trying to get their piece here. Everyone's using it. So McConaughey's trying to use it to sort of like, okay, this would be great to get myself up, get myself on TV. You've also got the NAACP trying to come in and get their piece of the pie. You've got all sides trying to use it, but at the core, it's just about this. It's about, does he deserve to die or not, and did they deserve to die? It's a bit ridiculous, but it's also officially, I believe, the sweatiest movie in history.
Confirmed. And this movie feels like the runtime of this movie is like 2.5 hours. It's pretty robust.
Quite long, yeah. It's 2:20 or something.
It feels like a 10-hour like episodic series with everything they jam pack into it. Like just that opening scene, the tension they build. You got the girl going to like the little grocery store, and you have the 2 hillbillies like driving, drinking beers, throwing bottles out. Like like, you know, it's going to happen. And when it does, it's filmed so horrifically. You don't see anything, but the way it's shot with the rope, basically, it's fucking horrible.
It's a great, instead of it being shocking as in like, you know, forcing us to watch it or anything like it, you give us the POV, you give us these moments, and it's that thing that lets your brain fill it in, which is, you know, always
so much worse.
Always worse. Yeah. But at the same time, you're right, Ryan. The reason is that like this used to be in the 90s, like I was saying, $200 million, whereas nowadays these kind of courtroom dramas, these kind of things are the 6-episode, 8-episode, 10-episode prestige TV on Amazon Prime, on Apple, on this, that, and the other. That's how it's done. We don't go to the movies anymore to watch courtroom. You know, think like A Few Good Men, all these kind of things. Courtroom dramas used to be a genre.
You're right. Or what was the George Clooney one?
Batman and Robin.
Yep, that's it. Or like The Insider, like Michael Mann's The Insider, which is phenomenal. It's not really a courtroom, but like that kind of legal thriller, I guess you could say.
Yeah, we just don't do it anymore.
No.
And it's like the thing is, it's
Tom Cruise is busy jumping out of airplanes.
Yeah. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the cruise, man. The thing is, though, it's like it's a well shot movie. It's a good movie. It's just like, you know, like I was pointing out, you've got people like Chris Cooper in like a 12 lines kind of role. You've got Octavia Spencer with 1 line kind of in the background. That you've got all of these hard hitters. And I also remember this because it was that guy from Dazed and Confused. It was Matthew McConaughey in a sort of a big dramatic breakout role. And I have to be honest, I think McConaughey kills it,
crushes it. Not since Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The New Generation, to lay out a performance quite like this.
And he's just handsome as hell in this movie. It's just...
And I think he was like 4 years younger than Sandy B in this movie.
Yeah, and Sandy B was blowing up as had done. She got paid $6 million for 5 weeks' work. You know,
and incredible stuff. I mean, then she went on to do, was Demolition Man after this, or was that before?
This is 96. I feel like
92.
I think Demolition Man was before, because Demolition Man
was after Speed.
Starts off in the future of 1997. So
okay, but I think that's great.
That's right.
God. Well, I know what I'm picking for when we get back to Los Angeles.
Oh, I do. I love Demolition Man.
You can't see, but I have the seashells right here. Just
it was just the 30th anniversary. I think the writer addressed the 3 seashells.
Twitter, if you're listening, stop doing that. Stop making me feel old and sad.
Yeah, I know. Every day we've got to stop following those film Twitters that are like 36 years ago today. This movie. I'm like, wait a minute, no. I don't need to know this. So let's just sort of get into sort of the way the plot goes. It's happened. It kind of gets it the inciting, basically Samuel L. Jackson coming out and sort of mowing those 2 guys down. But the extra sort of the cherry on top is that one of his errant bullets basically blows off Chris Cooper's leg. Chris Cooper being a local officer, a friend of his since childhood, and that sort of it goes, yeah, well, all right, you may have shot these boys, but at the same time, you've taken out this cop. But also, just so happens that, what a coincidence that the racist redneck's brother also happens to be a massive racist redneck, being Kiefer Sutherland, just playing
the same exact character in Stand By Me.
Yeah.
Like a cultural continuation. I mean, guys, this movie has 2 Sutherlands, and they don't even share any screen time.
No.
They don't, and they're not related in the movie, which is insane, because it's like they look exactly alike. So you're just watching the movie and you're like, so these 2 are not related in the fiction of this movie.
I think Schumacher was like, get me both Sutherlands.
Just everyone was fighting to, I think, be in this movie because the client had blown up 2 years before. So they're like, all right, it's the same director, it's the same writer, let's do it again. I also forgot Oliver Platt. I love Oliver
crushing
Platt.
it.
And in this movie, he's just being so Oliver Platt about
it. So great. He's so horny. She rolls up, and everyone is just completely hammered at all times.
Yeah.
Also, they're drinking. Like, there's a lot of drunk driving in this movie.
Yeah, and they laugh about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bit later on where Matthew McConaughey and Sandy B are celebrating, I guess you could say. Not really. But they are getting plastered off tequila, and then the next shot is just them like pulling up to a hotel, and she's like, I can't believe you just did that. Like,
and staggering out of the car.
Yeah.
And it's just so
the 90s were a different time.
It was. It's like in Mississippi, it's like, oh, it's all right. There's no point in drinking if you ain't going to drive. But yeah, like, so essentially what happens is, like, Samuel L. Jackson has no, it's going to be a $50,000 thing. Matthew McConaughey is basically, he's got no money either. He's, his practice is 2 months, 3 months delinquent on basically everything. I do like the way that, so kind of like I was saying, is everyone is trying to get their pound of flesh out of this, this case. And quite a fun bit is kind of like when the NAACP turn up, but they're kind of seeing it as a way of fundraising and getting sort of attention to this whole thing and making it a national issue, whereas this kind of like missing the point. And they get the sort of the local pastor to kind of fundraise as well off that. And one of my favorite little bits was Samuel L. Jackson playing them off each other to get that money. So some goes to his wife, 2,000 to his wife, 5,000 to the lawyer. And because that was just a kind of like a cool little scene. I mean, like, what do you guys just generally think about, like, the way the sort of the plot works out, how the interaction with Matthew McConaughey, Samuel L. Jackson, things like that?
The spider web in this movie of everyone kind of playing off each other, it's like, and the fact that it works so well and none of it's confusing, and it's a very straightforward thing, and I kind of appreciate that. There really wasn't a lot of mystery going on. It just happens. But man, like, every step of this movie just gets progressively worse and worse and worse. And Matthew McConaughey is just like, he just rolls with it.
Yeah.
It's like,
Will, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is a movie that could have easily, there's so much going on, there's so many moving parts with this plot. it could have gone off the rails. So I think it's really a testament to Schumacher that he was able to keep it all coherent and build that escalation, like, you know, appropriately, to the point where, like, you know, spoilers, Matthew McConaughey's house is burned down and you still got an hour of movie left and you're just like, I can't, where are we going? Like, this feels like the climax, and it's like, no, we still got a long way to go. And I think a lesser director, this would have felt like a huge mess.
I think that's a thing that people forget with history, especially because of Batman and Robin. When you say Joel Schumacher, a lot of people go to that, and it's like they forget that Joel Schumacher is a good director. I mean, like, have you ever seen Tigerland? With Colin Farrell,
or Phone Booth with Colin Farrell.
But he honestly, he can do a lot of things. Joel Schumacher, he's got a, you know, and he came from, you know, like these movies. He was making a lot of money. I mean, the guy, like, credit to the guy. But I kind of like, I get what you guys are saying, is that instead of this being a kind of whodunit, you know, sort of sense, there is a little bit of this, you know, stuff, especially when it comes to those the two experts who were testifying to whether or not Samuel L. Jackson is insane. And it is, in a way, a bit of a troubling, well, not troubling, but it's a movie that doesn't quite know its point, because we know that Samuel L. Jackson wasn't insane because he confessed to Matthew McConaughey that he was going to do it. But then you've got that sense of what's happened. You kind of don't care that he has killed them, which means you are for the death sentence, but then you don't want him, you want him to get off with this insanity plea that, what's the point it's trying to make? Is it trying to say, okay, vigilantism is okay, especially with this racial tensions and what they've done? It's like, is it okay?
It also seems like they really needed to give Sandra Bullock something to do, so she would just show up in court with a piece of paper that, like, oh, this solves that problem.
They're just entering new bits of evidence into the case, like, as
it's happening,
like, as it's happening, and it's like, no, this is completely silly. But
then you've got
for
that
the purposes
layer
of the movie, it's like, I don't care. It's great. It's great for the dramatic effect. But, like, this movie, you know, it's not a whodunit. It's a do we care about the moral victory rather than the legal, you know, upholding the letter of the law. And I think that's what the movie wants you to play with.
I think, actually, you're right. And it reminds me that Donald Sutherland, who basically plays the old drunk, well, everyone's a drunk in this movie. But he's basically the guy that used to own, it's his practice that Matthew McConaughey has. You find out that Donald Sutherland lost his right to practice because he was sort of protesting. It turns out that he's, you know, it's very much for women's rights and for racial justice and everything. He's been, you know, very much that kind of thing, but they've found a way to basically say you've got to push him to the side. But when he was talking to Matthew McConaughey's character, he says, if you get him off, it will be justice. But if the other side wins and he gets the death penalty, it'll be justice in the eyes of the law, both sides. So that's kind of like makes it the interesting precedent, because he should honestly be found guilty. It was planned. But at the same time, everyone's point is, well, you know what? If they did it to my daughter, I would have done the same thing, which is the point of having a criminal justice system, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's really like the you know, is he guilty? Yeah. But what do those two guys do? And so it's sort of like, he's guilty, but ultimately, do we care that he's guilty? You know, does it really matter?
Because there's no question about the guilt of the guys who killed. There's no question.
And you have that underlying thing where this same thing has happened before, and those white guys got off scot-free, and Samuel L. Jackson's like the first person to take action in like vigilante justice, take matters into his own hands. So that's why this is all kind of happening.
But it's, you know, and it comes with the sense of centuries of injustice. And, you know, it comes with the sense of, I mean, just it's the way that the rednecks, it's just seeing very often, it's like, it's just objects. They're seen as things, objects. They're not seen as people. And it's so antagonizing and angering. But so instead of like the tension being a classic, oh, getting more information here or more information there, the tension ramps up, honestly, by it just becoming an absolute sort of racial sort of fire point. You know, in the center of everything else is that now, so the brother, who is just a gargantuan racist, gets the Klan involved. So then the Ku Klux Klan turn up, and then it just starts this constant escalation that it's a really, like, you know, self-serious movie. It's a courtroom drama. it's prestige, it makes a lot of money. But if you honestly step back and go and just recount everything that happens in the movie, you go, this is ridiculous. That it get to the level it gets to, because I think I texted you guys at the end and go, well, good thing he won. All it cost was, let's go through it. Threats to his family, burn crosses outside, catching someone with a whole bunch of dynamite to blow up his house. He's just casually fine with it. His house eventually being burnt down, an attempted assassination by rifle, his secretary's husband being beaten to death, his family having to leave. And then I'm definitely forgetting some more other things that happen. Is like, when you really think about all the things that happen in this movie, it would have been international news. I mean, it would have just been, and he dusts himself off. His house is burnt down. He's like, guys, pre-trial meeting, two
Well, that's
hours.
the thing, is like, he's mourning the loss of his dog who was in this house, which was fucking exploded. And then the dog comes running out covered in soot. Thank God that dog was okay. And he's like, get your shit together. We got court in 3 hours.
And also Sandra Bullock getting kidnapped. And
right.
It's just that's what I mean. It's when you really step back and think about it, the plot is absolutely ridiculous.
There's so many, like you said, Will, there's so many moving parts that could have, this movie could have crumbled under the weight of itself, but it all just kind of works. Like, you have the hung jury, like the jury who's all white. You have the judge who's kind of corrupt with Kevin Spacey. There's just so many things going on. But it fits together very well.
Yeah, it does. It should honestly be a crap movie.
And I think, especially, I think that had the potential of like veering very close to crap territory. But I think Schumacher's just a better director than I think people give him credit for. I mean, Falling Down is a great example of another movie where it's like,
I forgot he directed that.
The way it escalates, Schumacher just has a great sense of like, even in his terrible Batman movies, he has a sense of escalation in there that makes sense.
It's a shame that that's like what he's now kind of stigmatized as.
And I'm also on record as saying, like, I don't think there's ever been a bad actor cast as Batman. I don't think they've had good material all the time, but I don't think there's any problem with George Clooney as Batman in theory.
Yeah, he was given a Batman that was also Bruce Wayne. There's nothing to do.
Right. Yeah. And and I honestly, like, thinking back to the 90s and like where we were at in cinema, Batman and Robin makes sense to me. Like, I understand how they arrived at the movie they did, even though it's not good.
Especially coming from Batman
they have anything
Forever
to apologize for.
Yeah.
Right.
But let's look at, like, just for a
it.
minute. Let's look at, like, Joel Schumacher, St. Elmo's Fire, Lost Boys, right? The Climb, Tigerland, Phone Booth. Like, the guy has some absolute bang. Flatliners, again, Falling Down Eyes.
Shot by Jan de Bont.
Incredible. The number 22.
Flatliner.
Not so good.
Oh, come on, that movie's terrible.
I love Flatliners.
I thought you were going to say I love the number 23.
The number 23.
Number 23. No, that's awful movie.
Yeah. You don't like Topsy Kretz?
No. Actually, that I do love. That name was so insane. I just absolutely love that.
So you Topsy?
Yeah, in the premise of the movie, it's once Kiefer Sutherland sort of reaches out to try and get the clan involved, then we get Kurtwood Smith rocks up as the Grand Dragon.
Well, and you have to understand the clan, like, by this time in the movie, like, there's no, like, or this time in that area, there was no KKK like anymore. Like, they a point that they bring up a number of times when his wife is like, it's the KKK, and he's like, don't be ridiculous, the KKK hasn't been here in years.
Yeah, buddy. Well, it's the 90s, right? Yeah. This is the Cold War is over, racism is fixed, people are talking about post-racism. You know what I mean? It's like the world, this is before 2001, before September 11th, there was this sort of gold 10 years of, we're like, guys, we fixed everything.
No, it wasn't until January 6th that we were proven so wrong.
Exactly.
But I like, hey, we're getting the clan back together.
You know what? Thanks for bringing that up, right? Because so the guys turn up, suddenly the clan turns up, you've got clan versus people outside the courthouse, and you've got shades of Charlottesville back in, 2016, 2017. no, nothing's been fixed, man. We've got a whole new generation of dumb idiots with their tiki torches coming out going, Jews will not replace us. You know, this whole stuff still exists. So it happens.
I was going to say, it's unfortunate how prescient this movie still is. While like watching it, I'm like, oh, it's not like, you can't chalk it up to like, oh, this was the 90s, because it's still like very unfortunately relevant.
Well, to your earlier point about like, how is this not international news? That's the only part of this movie where it's like, they didn't think far enough, because we now know when, you know, thanks to like events like George Floyd's murder, like events like this, we've seen how it blows up in the news. And so like the fact that this movie keeps it fairly local is the part of the movie where it's like, that's the unrealistic part, is we now know how big this would blow up.
I mean, we do see media circus getting involved, but I guess I think Schumacher, he keeps it focused instead of going, I guess there's no point to go what everyone else is talking about. I think now in retrospect, that keeping, like you were saying, Will, keeping us focused on what's happening in the courtroom and stuff like that. Okay, and it kind of makes sense. And it just, what doesn't make sense to me is again, you know, when you face the level of violence that is there, the level of just, what really bothered me, you know, when you're watching it is the entitlement of these idiots, these people, that they feel the freedom to be able to drive around and throw these burning crosses. They feel the justification to go and blow these houses up. You know, even like the bit that makes me grind my teeth is, you know, the guy that's running the jury, and he's like talking at dinner when they're not supposed to be. Oh, yeah. And he's like taking a bit of a vote, and then he throws out the line like, all right, this N-word's gonna fry. And I'm like, God, even the it's just like the deep-seated sort of thing of like, no. There are people, and then there are black people in Mississippi, and it's this, and they're just completely, just the way they're talked about or looked at was just, it makes you just go, ugh, just want to rip your skin off. You feel uncomfortable.
I said this movie has a script that would make Tarantino blush. Like it is so peppered with expletives that, I mean, and it makes sense in the context of the movie, but man, it makes it like, it was harder to watch than Bad Boys 2.
But in no way is it different from, let's say, a great movie like Black Klansman, which is just so funny. I mean, I think the genius of, that's one, I think, Spike Lee's best movies to me, like, just because it's, to take that subject matter and make it funny was wild to me, is that I found the funniest scene in the movie is the Klansman and his wife, who are like, and she's almost in tears about how much they hate N-words. But it's their romance. They were having a romantic moment out over it. And you're like, you're watching this going, what a ridiculous scene. But the ability to play that, to write it and direct it, and and in a movie. But yeah, I mean, like, that whole movie is nothing but the N-word, you know, from white people. So it's no different from the Klan doing it.
And it's definitely not played for laughs.
Yeah, no, not in this movie. Right. But it's also, it doesn't like bother me, because these people are such massive racists and such assholes. This is the way they talk. You know, it is the way they talk when they're around other people that like them. Oh, they feel free. This is the kind of idea that you hear in America now, is that all the people that really want freedom of speech, is what they mean is, I really want to be able to say the N-word out loud all the time. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequence. And it's something that, you know, as a foreigner that lives in America, to me seems quite obvious.
Yeah.
Right. You know, it's like that Delroy Lindo clip that it pops up online every now and then. I don't know if this is from a real talk show, but it's like a panel of like mostly white people. It looks like a Fox News thing, but it's not. And again, I don't know if this is from a movie or what this is, but it's this panel, and the white guy is like, you know, but, you know, we have freedom of speech, but white people can't say the N-word. And Delroy Lindo is just there, and he's like, go ahead, say it. Yeah. The guy's like, what? He's like, you want to say it? Go. I'm not going to stop you. Go ahead and say it. And it just shuts the guy down.
It's from The Good Fight. It's called. It's from The Good Fight.
Okay, that's what it is. Because usually that clip shows up in isolation, not related to anything. So, but yeah, it's that same point of like that. You know, this is like, they're like, you know. It just goes to your point. Also, sorry, I wanted to make a note of the Klan itself and how big of dorks they are. Like, I kind of laughed in the scene where they're like, "Here's your application to join the Klan." Like,
I lost it at that.
Ryan said the same thing.
I was like,
you guys are such nerds. Like, what are you talking about? You need I need to fill out this form to join my hate clan. It's like,
You
get
need
out
3
of here, you
references.
dork.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But it's
Oh,
also
God.
it's
Here's
also
your
kind of
decoder
like
ring.
Right.
it's a good little thing as well, and it's also somewhat on the nose, as we know. But that one of the sheriff's department officers is then one of the new Klan guys. So you know the fact that the white supremacists are on the force. You know what I mean? And then his sheriff is black. So then you've got and then you had that one of the murderers, one of the guys from the beginning, the guys that the scumbags, and he's talking to the sheriff. And he's talking about how my mom voted for you, my mom voted for you, and it's like I figured that having a sports hero N-word ain't so bad as a sheriff, and you're like, that's what I mean.
It's too casual.
That's
way
exactly
too casual.
it. It's exactly it. But I think
granted, he then apologized. He's like, sorry about that, but it was like, God, it's just
it's not a thing because to him it's a statement of fact.
Right.
You know, it's just that's what I mean. That's what the movie really does kind of get at is that mindset, and that how damaging it is to the fact that it pushes people to the point like, no, it's okay if we kill people, it's okay if we blow up, it's okay if we threaten people, it's okay if we rape them, because hey, we're right? White is right? It's that they don't. This movie does a good job of getting into that, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
What do you think about Kevin Spacey? Kevin Spacey. Now, again, we can separate the art from this.
Sure.
Okay?
Just
like
his
he recently just
movie.
got a standing ovation at Oxford University talking about cancel culture, which is the irony of that. It's just too much to handle. But he plays a great sort of district attorney. Actually, I like that.
He basically plays Frank from House of Cards.
He is doing the accent.
Nails it.
Yeah. Very much.
Like expert. I mean, I want to separate the art from the artist because he just fucking crushes this role. It's obviously it's unfortunate, but man, he's great because you already hate him in real life. He's great to hate in this movie too.
It does add to your hatred of of him as a character.
Yeah.
But I do think like just on a pure story level, it's funny that this character is like, oh, this guy killed the 2 men who, raped and beat his daughter. This is where I'm gonna like really make my name as a DA. It's like, wouldn't you would think like, wouldn't that
he's running for,
make you hated by everybody?
Yeah. Isn't he running for Congress or for mayor?
He's running for governor in the movie.
That's his plan. Yeah, so he's trying to put himself on the map. Yeah. This is a sort of like, a defining thing.
And I love how degrading he is to Matthew McConaughey's character. Like he knows who he is and already hates him.
Yeah,
he's like wet behind the ears. Just
Though I do like Sandy B. So Sandra Bullock comes down. She's an old miss, but she's originally from Boston, and she's the daughter of a lawyer to the stars of some kind, so kind of a famous lawyer. And she's coming down. She's rich. She drives a cool car. She's honestly just doing it because she's sort of she's at college and she's like a social justice warrior, I guess, of a way. But I do like.
She's very against the death penalty. Like that's
yes, very much. Whereas I do like the bit where McConaughey's like, "No, I'm all for it."
That was great.
That was a good little sort of like scene
good,
where they're like, "I disagree with your politics, but I agree with your heart." But no, it's the throwaway line when like Kevin Spacey comes by and he's being a bit of a dick, and he's some throwaway line to Sandy B, and she's like, "Oh, how's the impotence going?"
Yeah,
and she turns around, and then the guy goes like, "Oliver Platt, impotence is like," she's like, "Yep, girls talk."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oliver Platt is so sassy in this movie, but
great.
he's not a gay character. He's just super southern and sassy. It's great.
Yeah, and he's just got Oliver Platt's lips. He does great lip acting.
Yeah.
And
he's just decked out in seersucker the whole time. Fantastic. And just constantly drinking a beer in a brown paper bag.
Yeah.
In almost every scene.
Yeah.
And like 9 in the morning. It's fantastic.
We've barely even mentioned it. Ashley Judd, who I think every time, like she's just wearing a cotton dress at all times, and right before they start shooting, they've just gone taken,
but not on her face, just on her
beads of sweat just running down her cleavage, and on her face. Everyone is sweaty. There's not a single moment of air conditioning in the whole movie.
It makes me wonder if it was just so hot while they were filming this, or if that was just a choice. Like, let's make it more sweat.
The thing
a sweat wrangler.
The thing about it is, it was shot in Canton, Mississippi, shot at the Canton County Courthouse. It was shot in Jackson, Mississippi. It's shot throughout Mississippi. I mean, that's why you're getting a lot of that feel, because it's there. You're getting those helicopter shots around the courthouse where you're seeing the Klan and that stuff going down. There's a lot of production value in this. You're getting them people sitting inside those restaurants or coming out of those bars or driving down the streets. It's just dripping in Mississippi, but it shows lots of different kinds. You know, it's pretty much a point in the movie is the two sort of different sides of town. You know, you've got the white side, you've got the black side, and Samuel L. Jackson calling out Matthew McConaughey saying, I don't see you in my part of town. I don't see your kids playing with my kids. You're a part of the problem, man. A reason I picked you is because you're one of the bad guys. You don't know you are, but you are. You don't see me as a guy. You see me as a black guy. And it's I do like that this movie definitely, points out that there are many people that live in Mississippi and they all live side by side, but they don't live the same lives, which I thought was pretty.
Yeah. I mean, and it really does capture that feeling of what it would be like in that town for better, for worse, This was
but it seems like I'm definitely going with worse, considering the amount of explosives, fire bombings, Molotov cocktails.
I want to go back to the beginning of this movie when the mother and Kiefer Sutherland are burying their two sons in just a dirt pile in their backyard.
They haven't invented holes yet. Yeah.
I mean, this is a Jurassic Park mountain level of shit that they're just. And there's 4 people there.
Yeah, I was and they were they were good boys, good old God-fearing boys. I'm like, no, they were absolute scum of the earth.
Yeah.
This is what they were.
Did you not see the beginning of this movie? They went out of their way to make them look so reprehensible, and it every shot they were in it just got worse and worse and worse, and then they got shot.
And Nicky Cat, his cut off singlet.
Oh yeah, what is that about?
With his little belly and his straightened, tail, amazing sort of mullet. And God, I mean, they couldn't have made it more. He's almost like a Halloween costume for a redneck.
Yeah, he looks like he looks like a King of the Hill character. But just when you think redneck, that's what's burned in, racist redneck. That's the image that's burned into my head, unfortunately.
There's some great little there's great little court play where I like how they sort of snooker. Is it Anthony Heald, right? He's the guy that's been brought in to testify to Samuel L. Jackson not being insane. Right. And you get that whole sort of subplot that's going of Sandy B basically breaking into his office to get some details, and it kind of turns out that you've done this 40 times and you've never found anybody that wasn't that was insane.
It was insane.
But even before that, Sandy B has this interaction with the guy in that place, just instilling how horrible a man can be in this situation. She's playing it off as this aloof reporter, and he's like, "Why don't you come back to my office? We'll talk." It's so fucking creepy. It's so
and
gross.
He's kind of because she's playing it well, but he's like, aren't you adorable? Aren't you a cute thing? Hello, little darling. What? You can come and wait in my office until he's ready. And she's gross. But she's the one manipulating the situation.
Right. Yes.
She's manipulating his stupidity, which is pretty cool. But I also like the other twist, which is their expert then gets discredited for statutory rape. But then it turns out, he goes, but he was, what is it? He was 19, the girl was 16, but that's the woman he married and they've been married for 20 years. So does that make a difference? So it's so well played in that way. But I think the defining moment of the movie for me is Matthew McConaughey's final summation. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, that was so powerful. I mean,
it's
like he had this whole thing and the jury's just and then he ends it with that one line and they're like, oh my God, I didn't think of it like that. What if the girl was white? That was the whole thing.
But it's almost, I mean, so had you guys seen the movie before?
I haven't seen it in ages.
Right. So did you see where he was going with that?
No.
I was wondering because of the conversation he had with Samuel L. Jackson. I was like, that's got to play into it. He's got to figure out how to talk to a white crowd. And by making it the crime that visceral and going to that description, which is horrific, and then ending it with like, imagine if it was a white girl. Which you would hope that people would have empathy beforehand, and be like, no, I'm already there. This is already like the worst thing I've ever heard. But unfortunately, there is that level of racism or bigotry that people have where like you have to make it relatable to them, otherwise they just cannot empathize.
Well,
and it cuts to every single person in that courtroom too. It's not like it cuts to the jury, it cuts to Kevin Spacey, who's just like cuts to the judge, like everyone, like he turned that whole conversation on that one end line, and it really it was so powerful.
Yeah, I think so. I'd say it's not so much necessarily about racism and things like that. Not that it's not, but it calls into something that is still talked about today that people don't fully understand, is the sense of intrinsic bias.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it's the same way as that riddle, as like the doctor. A husband is there, a man is there with his son. They're in a car accident.
Oh, right.
The son is taken to the hospital, and the doctor goes, I can't treat him. This is my son. And people can't get it because the intrinsic bias of a woman being a doctor. It's things like that help people understand that it does exist.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that's why I was asking, is like sort of like if you guys saw it coming kind of thing, because it does come as like a kind of moment. But then what do you guys think about just McConaughey's performance in that moment?
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, even before that, you have we're glazing over the bit where Chris Cooper's character comes back, and Chris Cooper, who I've only ever seen play a horrible person in all of his movies, he plays such a great villain.
Seabiscuit, he's great in Seabiscuit as a good guy.
As Seabiscuit,
he's Seabiscuit.
He's
incredible.
Seabiscuit.
Incredible.
He was great in this, and he's like, he has that whole interaction with him. Do you think like he should be punished? He's like, no, I mean, I'm upset that he did it, but I know he didn't do it on purpose. Like it was that whole interaction was.
Yeah, he's like, I would have done the same thing.
Yeah. And then the judge is like, no, jury, pretend you didn't hear that. Like that happens. Right. That happens so many times with so many witnesses.
It was like 95% of Matthew McConaughey's approach to this is say things you can't say and then go, oh, I withdraw it. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
But Will, what did you think about McConaughey's performance in the movie, but especially in that last scene as well?
I mean, it's amazing because McConaughey was kind of thought of for years as like, he's the rom-com guy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of post this movie. You forget that like in the start of his career, he was considered like, oh no, he's an actual actor and stuff. Then he got roped into like rom-coms and goofy comedies. And then everybody wrote him off until The McConaissance with like Mud and True Detective.
Dallas Buyers Club.
And Dallas Buyers Club. I always forget that's the one he won the Oscar for. I always think it's Mud, but
I've never seen Mud. I've heard it's incredible.
I almost picked it for this episode, but I believe it takes place in Arkansas.
It might. It's been a while since I've seen it.
It pops up on the list, but when you look at where it's shot, I think it's on the Mississippi River, but it's on.
But worth checking out. But I mean, his monologue there at the end is just very powerful and just really does show his range and shows that like, no, he wasn't just a goofy rom-com leading guy who did the movie Sahara, unfortunately.
I love that movie.
I know. I wanted to throw a little dig in there at it. But like he's always like had like this range in him.
Yeah.
Like even going back to the start of his career.
He's just so damn handsome.
He's so handsome in this particular movie.
Disgustingly handsome.
Oh my God, he's so pretty in that hair.
When he's wearing the cutoff shirts and he's like leaning and he's just the bicep. He's just a handsome guy.
Yeah. I mean, real piece of shit.
Yeah. Piece of shit. Yeah.
I do like the bit where he's not wearing underwear and he's just been casually sliced with a knife, and Sandy B just takes that little peek and she goes, "Ooh, nice butt." I just like the cheeky.
She Me Too's him right there.
The dynamic of them also having this like tenuous will they won't they felt a little it felt a little off. Like it did feel, I mean, you can I get it. I mean, he had to send his wife and kid away, and they have this kind of like weird this like immediate chemistry with everything that's going on. Then they have that night where they get plastered drunk together and they have this almost moment, but they don't, and then it just kind of
it's that movie. It's like that moment where the movie law starts to kind of come in, where it's like, wait a minute,
these
are the two most attractive people on earth. Surely they must like,
right.
get together, right? And then the movie like remembers like, wait, that's not what this movie is.
But everyone else like leverages that against them. Like, all the other characters are like, oh, they're, your little sweetie and this and that. So I get it, but it did feel a little kind of tacky.
I mean, it's like the high stress situation. They're spending a lot of time together. It's like everyone's kind of highly stressed, but I kind of do like the McConaughey's like, he's obviously, I mean, like, obviously I found you attractive. It's like the line he goes, I want you to stay, so I think you should leave. Which is that kind of thing. It just addresses like, you're gorgeous and you're smart and you're funny, but she's also a college girl, man. And you're married to Ashley Judd, who is...
but he gets older and they stay the same age.
But
it's in every movie.
Ashley Judd is an absolute smoke show in this movie.
Oh my God, yeah.
So,
I think I was reading on the trivia, like Matthew McConaughey has a history of proceeding to date any woman he's like in a movie with. So he was dating, I think, Ashley Judd. I think he was also dating Sandra Bullock at the same time.
Tom Cruise
and Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. Tom Cruise was constantly dating. He went from Nicole Kidman. He was Penelope Cruz. People he's doing movies with as well.
Now it's Christopher McQuarrie.
Yeah.
Thank God. Long may that relationship continue. Because
that's one he's been in yet.
The two of them working together, absolute bangers. What else about this movie? Anything else that you can kind of like, pick from? I would like to get into it more, but I also like, with this podcast, having 3 movies, it's like we get to touch on. Yeah. There are sometimes, especially last week, where I felt I could have talked about each movie for 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's but in this one, it's kind of does the movie work for you? All right. Do you think it is a good movie?
Oh, absolutely. And it's such a good 90, like it doesn't may not make sense to most people, but it's such a 90s movie. It just has that feel. It's got the cast, it's got the look. I don't know how because I probably didn't watch this movie in the 90s, but I don't know how well it did at like award season or whatever, but it just feels like that big budget, like legal thriller.
150 million it made off a 40 million budget. It wasn't really kind of like it did get a nomination for best supporting actor. Samuel L. Jackson does say decades later, that there was lots of dramatic stuff that he did that got cut out, that he says cost him the Oscar. He's like gone on, he goes, he's like, there's a lot of stuff, because he's I mean, Samuel L. Jackson is just, for me, is a banger. But in this particular movie, I mean, he's doing some really, really powerful eye acting. Yeah. It's like really incredible stuff from him. Yeah, let's get into Samuel L. Jackson for a bit. Like, what did you guys think about him in this movie?
That was perfect. I mean, he's got maybe one of the most iconic lines in cinema history, delivered expertly. And it's get these goddamn snakes off this plane. Or however it goes. Not to.
No, it's the yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell, and that is burnt into my memory. It's from
everyone shit their fucking pants in that courtroom too. Like,
yeah. I mean, when you sent that to us in like the text thread, like at the moment I read it, I hadn't. I've only seen the trailer before this, but I immediately heard it like in his voice. It looked that exact line delivery. Just reading it, that's how iconic that line is.
Yeah.
And like, as far as his performance goes, I mean, he's fantastic. It's one of these roles where, you have to believe that this guy could kill these 2, creeps in cold blood, but you have to be on his side. And you have to like believe that this guy also is just a normal person who loves his family and stuff. And you're just rooting for him. And very few actors can like thread that needle.
Yeah, he really does. From the moment you see him on screen too, and when he's carrying his daughter out, like that whole with the whole neighborhood, like it's powerful, man. Like I couldn't picture anyone else really delivering on that like he did at that time. Maybe like a Wesley Snipes. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I couldn't pick someone that I think could have done that role even.
Maybe
close.
a Delroy Lindo.
Yeah, I could, right? But
maybe,
like, Samuel L. Jackson, I can see that.
There's just something about him too, like his rate, like his rage, unfettered rage, but also his calmness, which has like he's like a duck on a pond, like he's got that rage built in, but it's that air of calm that makes him so like unpredictable,
because we say that because then I know that like when it came to McConaughey's character, they did look at Woody Harrelson, they looked at Val Kilmer, things like that. You can see them doing. I mean, I could see Val Kilmer killing that role. 100%.
Man, there's just something about McConaughey in this that just works. And like it's so funny when you, prior to picking these three movies, looking up at our list, it's like Matthew McConaughey's done a lot of like Mississippi movies, like a lot.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, the last time I watched this movie was actually about 9 months ago. I watched it here because I was thinking about it, but what I was thinking about was when I was thinking about this podcast. And this is another one of those films that I'm looking at, I go, this idea might work, because I specifically was like, remembered it as being Mississippi. That's why very often when I pick my movies here, it's always that instinctual one is, what was the first movie you saw?
Of course, yeah, I do the same thing.
That boom hits that state that you remember seeing, and like for this one, it was like, and it was all the sweatiness.
It's not easy too because in a lot of these movies, not usually the place it's set in isn't a central character as much as like when a movie's shot in New York, it's kind of part of it, or shot in LA, it's kind of part of it. But any other state, it's a really trickier thing to pull off, like. And when it does, it's incredibly, it's fantastic. Like for this to feel like a Mississippi movie, it's great. I don't know how else to say it. It's a hard thing to capture.
You feel bad for Mississippi that
yes,
that this is the movie, but if you take the subject matter out of it, the way it looks, the people, the feel, the everything, the
there's
variety,
no movie. There's no movie, but it's going to be Mississippi. Right. Yeah.
Take the sweat out of it. It's not going to work. Okay, look. Yeah, so I think let's just giving Samuel L. Jackson his due on this movie, I think is a good place to kind of like to move on. To move on and lighten the load a little bit. We're going to keep it pretty sweaty though. Let's talk about Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Now, Ryan, we touched on it a little bit when we were introducing it, but you're the guy that rolled in with this movie and you'd never seen it. Give us some of your what are the things that you remember of this movie?
The music, for one. I mean, this soundtrack is an absolute banger. But it's such a unique story, and it's credit to the Cohen brothers. The way they do characters really is such a unique way that nobody else writes characters like this. That everyone feels so grounded, but still so like folksy and charming. Like you kind of want to be immersed in the worlds that they're building. It's the only way I can quantify it.
Kind of theatrical, like Babyface Nelson. I do like he turns up. He's so
like everything is so like reserved, but yet somehow over the top, like in every line reading. Yeah. And it's great.
Like Babyface Nelson is being led off to his death, and it's like what's his name? He's like, well, things are really looking up for George. Everything's coming up great for George. He's happy again. But quickly then the music. This was a massive hit. It sold 5 million albums, had 3 follow-up albums, had 2 live tours, won a country music award and 5 Grammys. So that honestly, yes.
For a band named the Soggy Bottom Boys.
The Soggy Bottom Boys. I mean, there are so many songs, but this movie is defined, I think, by its music, and the music is defined by the area and Mississippi and everything else. But also, Ryan, were you aware of, did you pick up on the fact that it is an adaptation of the Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey?
No, not at all.
So like the bits with the sirens, the fact that John Goodman's kind of like the Cyclops kind of thing?
I'm sure that's like really done well, but no, I didn't clock it, to be honest.
It's quite it's kind of what I like is that you're like, it's a very original movie, and I go, well, it's written by Homer. But that being said, while Homer is credited with a sort of like a written by
like story credit.
Joel and Ethan Cohen do admit that none of them, they didn't read it, that they know it's all part of the cultural zeitgeist elements.
Yeah.
The only person that had actually read the Odyssey was Tim Blake Nelson, because he had a degree in classics. So
he's so great. He's so great and everything. And
really quickly, for those of you who haven't seen Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, first of all, stop and watch it. But what it does, it tells the story of 3 fellas, George Clooney, John Turturro, Tim Blake Nelson. They are escaping from a chain gang. So they're all chained together. And the central premise is that they have to get to a certain area because they're going to basically let a dam out. Very similar to the exact plot of Deliverance. But George Clooney's told them that he has like $1.2 million from a heist stash there, so they've got to get the treasure. Of course, that's not where it actually goes, but that's kind of how it starts off. Will, I'm sure you've got a much more experience with this movie. What's your, your feel, your take, your whole thing about this movie?
I mean, I love this movie. This is right up there. This and Big Lebowski are my favorite movies of theirs. And again, instantly like one of the most quotable movies for me, like ever. And yeah, I think it's funny that they admitted that they're like, oh, we didn't actually read the Odyssey, because I have, and I'm like, I can tell. But that does not ruin, like, I don't care. The movie's so good that it doesn't bother me. And I just love that this is like really about, anytime there's a movie about like a bunch of doofuses trying to like pull off a mission, you've pretty much got me.
That's all their movies too.
Yeah, the fact that these guys, even like George Clooney, who
so great,
likes to speak with like these big $10 words, is just a dummy. And they're just all like just so so dim, and I love it. And just there's so many parts of this movie that just kill me. Like when Goodman is knocking out Tim Blake Nelson with
my God.
And Clooney's like, what's going on?
I'm not getting it.
Yeah. He rips a branch off of this tree and just
no reaction from Clooney. Just all right.
Oh, great.
To me, so great in this. Steals this movie, and it's I try to refrain from talking through degustation. I find it crude, and just the way he's such a southern gent about it. Yeah. And I just love. You're right, because George Clooney is a fucking idiot. But like he's always talking like he knows everything, and it's like, and I really like, if you watch the movie, Clooney's got this way that he's talking. He's like, well, let me tell you, this, that, and the other. He's got this like really specific way.
It's very theatriral, like you said. Like it feels like a play almost.
My understanding is that is his uncle's voice, because his uncle, I think, is from Kentucky or something, and was like a radio or a news anchor, and I think he had his uncle, I might be misremembering this, but to get the accent, he had his uncle like read the lines, and like he recorded him so that he could like play it back. And but his uncle had added in like a bunch of like colloquialisms and like his little like just sayings that weren't in the script, and Clooney had been like repeating that on set, and I think the Coens were like, are you adding stuff? And he didn't realize that his uncle was just throwing in like Southern like twang.
Another thing that the uncle did as well is that he removed any of the sort of like the hells or swearings and made them
all the swear words.
Like that. And like Clooney didn't realize until the Coens were like, dude, no, it's supposed to be this line. He's like, oh wait, what? So Clooney is from Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky. It's that thing that always like bothers me, that when you got people that are like talking about liberal elites from California, I go, no, mate, they're from Ohio and Kentucky. They just moved there. Like, they're from your place.
No one's from LA.
No, I live here. I'm not from here. Nobody I live with is from here. Nobody's from here.
So then it's just because it is the Odyssey, and kind of like you're saying, it's so theatrical. That it's just such a pleasure and a joy to watch. Everybody's got banger.
It's whimsical. Like every scene is, it's like it feels like a fairy tale.
They got that cool part where the three of them. So we got Clooney. He's playing Ulysses, Odysseus. There we go. John Turturro is Pete. Tim Blake Nelson is Delmar. Where they at a crossroads, they pick up. Chris Thomas King, who's playing Tommy Johnson, who very famously kind of like started that reputation that he was so good at the guitar because he sold his soul to the devil. And they pick him up right after he sold his soul to the devil. And he's like, oh, well, why would you do that? He goes, well, I wasn't using it.
That's great. He's fantastic.
What's the harm? The four of them together. And they end up, they hear this rumor that you can sing into a can, and a man will like, he'll pay you money to sing into a can. And who's the guy? He's the guy from
Stephen
Office
Root.
Space. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Stephen Root.
He's just
MVP
with the eye.
Everyone in this movie, man. It's so great. This cast is great.
I'm just talking about it, boy.
Just another testament to the Coen brothers. Like it could be the most innocuous person with like one line, but they crush it.
It's like,
I love
for
that.
real. And he's doing the eye acting so good. And he's just like, there's that scene where they're recording like I'm a Man of Constant Sorrow. And it kind of cuts to his side in the sound booth. And you just see him in the reflection. But he's just making like weird noises. It's just such a great character choice. Yeah. I do love that bit afterwards where he's like, oh, I'll pay you $10 a piece, and you just have to sign here. And George Clooney's like, oh, that's fine for us, but whatever he says, like Isaiah and Mordecai will have to put next because they can't read. And I'm like, that's clever, you know?
Yeah.
It's just so good. So yeah, as they go on their adventure, at one point they have that moment where two of them get saved. Because they go to the baptism with these people by the river. It's all very ethereal.
And Blake Nelson runs and cuts in front of everybody.
Yeah, nobody has an issue with it.
I think he's getting baptized.
Go for Everett. But then we get the moment where they're driving, and it's just, again, let's talk for 1 second about John Turturro just being that bit where they drive past the sirens, and he just goes. Like bites on his hand and just I'll sing first.
So good. Another, it's so funny, made me think of another Coen Brothers movie that we didn't even mention, which is Barton Fink, which is fucking fantastic. Him and John Goodman.
See, I've never seen that one.
That's a great one.
It's a good one.
But anyway,
you had that whole bit with the sirens happens, and again, just amazing music. The music all throughout, it's just so spot on. But then they think that he's been turned into a toad.
A horny toad.
And so we have this kind of thing for about 15-20 minutes where like think he's a toad, but they keep seeing him as well at the same point, kind of thing like, did Pete have a brother? Pete must be getting to me. Kind of stuff.
such high level buffoonery.
Yes.
In this movie. It's great. It's so charming.
That's the thing. Yes, it's a lot of buffoonery, but it's so well written. Yeah. They're so on top of it, but also it is so much a product of where it is. And it's credit to Roger Deakins for just being stunning to look at. And the thing is that the reason we were talking at the very beginning about the digital color correction was because, they tried to do it chemically. They couldn't figure it out, but it was because the Coens wanted to be sort of dusty and sepia. And they're shooting in Mississippi and in parts of South Carolina when they said it was the greenest green you've ever seen. So when you're looking at the movie, you have to sort of realize that everything's green, but they've made it look so dusty that you'd never know it. It's almost like when you see another movie do it, you go, oh, they're doing the No Country for Old Men look.
Yeah, I think it's important to say that this movie kind of set in motion how modern movies are color graded, how they look, how the Matrix feels green sometimes, it's just because of this.
This movie really does look like, when you read the Grapes of Wrath or something, this is something that looks like this movie pops into your head, and they did a really good job of capturing that. Unfortunately, then everybody took the wrong lessons from the color grading and color graded every movie horrible for the next 10 years. But they have since figured it out and gotten better. Marvel hasn't, but other movies have figured
Roger
it out.
Deakins went on to shoot The Crazies.
Yeah.
He just cranked it.
So then we've also got this kind of malignant force that's following them. Daniel von Bargen, he's the sheriff with this sort of the eyes, that is exactly how their buddy Tommy Johnson had described the devil that he sold his soul to. So he's kind of an amalgamation, I think people are saying, of Poseidon as well, and the devil. If you
I gotta rewatch this movie. I didn't get any of that.
Yeah, and I did. Once he's one of my favorite bits about John Goodman being the Cyclops is that when and we'll get to this, but when he's at the Klan rally, he turns around, but he's only got one eye hole.
Right.
And the little guy who's got his own little Klan outfit as well. So funny. The fact that you can make the Klan funny is just honestly brilliant. But
Tarantino did it in Django too. It's a hard thing to pull off, but
I've been telling Mrs. she needs to watch Django. I was like,
it's funny because it's something you would normally like. You don't want to. It's like when a teacher tells you not to laugh in class and you can't hold it in. It's just
it just makes it funnier. Yeah.
But the movie takes a little bit of a turn plot wise in that we've been moving towards getting this treasure, and then suddenly Cohen Brothers' favorite Holly Hunter turns up. Holly Hunter rocks up in this movie with the 7 daughters of George Clooney's character. She's told them,
this?
No, that's not your daddy. Your daddy got hit by a train.
That was
Many English people got hit by trains. You went to jail. She's a treasure. Holly Hunter's always a treasure, but she kills it in this movie. And that's where we actually kind of find out there's no treasure. He needed to get his missus back because she was going to get married to this dick. And he's in the bit. I love like the realization of John Turturro and like Tim Blake. John Turturro is like, I had 2 weeks left on my sentence.
Yeah.
They're going to send me back for 50 extras. I'm not going to get out until 1994. It's like, I'm going to be 84 years old. And Tim Blake Nelson, I'll just be 82. He's such a positive idiot.
I'll only be 82.
I love Tim Blake Nelson.
But he's like...
The scene in that scene where they get into the scuffle in that little store is shot so well and sounds so good.
I love it.
The fact that he gets rocked.
Oh, dude, immediately.
George Clooney kind of
like boxer style.
Yeah, the other guy's got fisticuffs and George Clooney's hands are up here.
And
you're nailing it because every time you they circle around and it's always shot in just right. And he's got such great dunk, and the sound effect of him just getting the shit kicked out of him is
fantastic.
So funny.
I love that.
But in the background of all this going on, there's also this undercurrent of the Soggy Bottom Boys song is becoming wildly popular. It's spreading like wildfire. You know, that one incredible shot of they tell 2 stories with a burning newspaper where the front page burns off and then you see the second page. I'm like, how many times did they do that shot? Because that was perfect. But then you've also got the extra plot of there is a run for governor. You've got Pappy, played by Charles Durning, who does the Pappy Flower Hour or whatever.
So good.
The way he says "some bitch," you know, it's like it's just some of the lines with his son is like, it's a good thing your mama died giving birth to you because she would have died of shame seeing you. I'm like, oh my god, amazing.
Am I correct? Is he also the from the Muppet movie? Is he also the guy who owns the fried frog leg restaurant who's trying to like capture Kermit? I think that's the same actor, but I don't.
Also made by the Coen Brothers.
The Coen Brothers, the Muppet movie.
I'm getting into. He's in the Muppet movie as Doc Hopper.
That's what it is. Doc Hopper's fried frog legs.
That's
yes.
Awesome.
Well,
nice
what do you know?
Deep cut.
That's always what I think of him as. Is just Kermit being afraid of him.
I love seeing all these characters pop up and like the same actor popping up in another Coen Brothers movie, but it is played so adjacently, but yet it's so different. Like him and Lebowski's great. Like he's basically playing the same guy, but slightly different, and it just fucking works.
But he's the governor, and he's Pappy O'Daniel, and you've got all these great scenes with those. He's got his son who's just a bit of an idiot.
Oh my god!
And then you got those 2 guys who are discussing: is it more of an ass kicking, or is it like they always just those 2 guys are so funny and frustrating at the same time. And that's juxtaposed with the other guy, Homer Stokes, played by Wayne Duvall, who's a candidate for governor as well. And they're all kind of using music, as a way to pull crowds in, as a way to sort of do it. And he's here for the little man. And he's got literally a mini-me who's there. He's going to sweep this he's going to reform it out. Of course, later we find out he is also the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. Which again is actually, let's talk about that scene, because we get to this point where they've essentially gone and broken Pete back out of jail. We found out what's kind of going on. We know now the actual stakes, the wife and things like that, but they come across they've had the run-in with John Goodman, and they come across, they hear this singing, and it's like, ooh, and you creep up over this sort of thing, and there's this huge Klan rally going on. But it's the fact they're all just like, it's just so comedic that they're doing this sort of this organized dance, and they're going
it's
around.
So theatrical. It's so theatrical.
Yeah.
It's with this massive burning cross in the background. And in any other situation, that would be a kind of thing that makes your blood run cold. Yeah. But you just almost see them for how stupid they are as a society.
Yeah.
And
again, huge dorks. Like it's a running theme. The Ku Klux Klan. The fact that they even call their leader the Grand Dragon. It's like, Grand what Wizard. A bunch of fucking dorks across the board.
You see this moment that you realize that they've captured Tommy, and they're like, this is a sort of moment. They're gonna burn him. They're gonna lynch him. It's gonna be horrible. And he's like, well, the devil's come to claim his due. You know, but the three guys, you know, it's all they put a team together. They get the color guard. They're gonna kind of break him out, and it's just it's just so funny. The guys are such muppets. They're so idiot, but they're always got the heart kind of in the right place. Yeah. And you know that they're there to get they break Tommy out, and like they put the burning thing down on John Goodman. Like, what do you guys think about that scene? Because that's, I think, one of my favorites.
It's fucking hilarious. It's so it's so good. There's no way it should work. But because it's them filming it, it fucking does, and it just lands so hard. I was cackling.
Yeah, it's just full on Looney Tunes at that point, but in the best way possible. Yeah. Even like John Goodman catching the before he gets his remaining eye. Yeah, no, it's fantastic, and the revelation that the guy running for governor with his little friend are, you know, the clans is just brings it all together. And then like, especially at the end when they all show up at like the big show.
Well, there you go. That's a great way of putting it, is that we've talked about these different little subplots. Tommy's subplot, the two governors subplots that are happening, the George Clooney, the fact that he's got the guys back together, Holly Hunter and being his missus, and then she is actually about to marry the guy that's running the campaign for Homer Stokes, the Ku Klux Klan guy. Every single character comes together in this moment. I believe it's actually a fundraiser for that guy, for Stokes. And they've got some music playing. The radio is going to be there. But then the guys have to break in to try and like get Holly Hunter's attention. And that's when they start singing their song. You know, Constant Sorrow, Soggy Bottom Boys. And it's brilliant. You've got to give credit. They took every single story thread and they put it into this moment, this kind of this moment where, oh my gosh, it's them. The crowd goes wild, but one of them, you've got Tommy on stage. They're like, well, they're integrated. This is not what we do, and it's that moment of Pappy going, well, you know, he's looking from them to the crowd, going, well, clearly the crowd doesn't mind. And then you get Stokes turn up, and he's got that same thing that we were talking about in A Time to Kill of, you know, that perspective of no, I'm right because I'm white. White is right, and he's doing the speech and completely misreading what's happening, and that's it. That's his downfall. Pappy jumps on board, like being the smart politician that he is, and that's when we just get that beautiful scene. So, like, what do you guys like? That scene, the song, the everything. You guys,
it was fantastic. I loved it. It was so good to see all of that come together in such a spectacular way, and for them again to, much like A Time to Kill, all of these moving pieces to come together in this final moment. It could have crumbled at any time, but these guys are such experts at the top of their game. It's no surprise it worked so well.
Yeah, and I do like the subtle realization I had the first time I saw that scene is I was like, okay, so Pappy's going to win the election, but we don't actually know anything about his policy. We just know he's not the Klan guy. Yeah. So there is that moment of like, maybe Pappy's also not a good politician, but like because he's played the situation so well, it's like, okay, now he's gonna win, and the Soggy Bottom Boys helped him get there. Yeah. I do like that we don't really know anything about like him as a politician. He could be bad as well, but who knows?
Well, he's a good politician. Doesn't mean he's
a good politician, but you know,
if it's one thing in politics have taught me is there's no bad politicians.
name me 300. You can't. Yeah. You know? No, and I just, and I love the way that it all comes together. All those plot threads come together in the moment.
Yeah.
But even more amazing, that's not the end of the movie.
Well, yeah. I wanted to. Well, we'll jump to that in 1 second. But they also then managed to then, because of the momentum and because everyone's on board, pardons the guys. So the guys are pardoned. Now they've been brought in as the brain trust behind. He goes, these are the guys that helped me. So now George Clooney's he's bona fide. He's a suitor.
He's a suitor.
He's working with the governor. He's famous musician. So now he's one Holly Hunter. So they're pardoned. He's one Holly Hunter. The other guys are pardoned. All of these things are coming together. The bad guys have lost. The good guys have won. But yes, Will, you'd think it'd be the end of the movie. But no, you've got an extra 15 minutes. So yeah, go and tell us what happens next.
Well, now this is where the guy who was hunting them, I forget his name again.
Sheriff Cooley.
Cooley, yeah. I always think it's LaForest, but that's Butch and Sundance. Finally he and his gang catch up with them. And you think like, okay, this guy doesn't care about the pardons. He's there to get his guys.
Right.
And there's gonna be a hanging, and then that's when I don't know why I'm spacing. The dam essentially breaks that moment because of the storm, right?
Well, we forgot the what we forgot is that when John Turturro's character Pete had been recaptured, he'd been kind of whipped and tortured, and he'd even told the guys, "It's like, do not seek the treasure," because he told them there was going to be an ambush, but because of the movie and everything that's happened, even we've forgotten this.
Yeah.
You know, we're now in all right, they're going to go and they're going to get the wedding ring, because that's why they have to go back. Is that Holly Hunters, I can't marry you unless you get my wedding ring from the roll top desk in the shack. And they turn up, and like you're saying, it's a trap. And it's like, but we've been pardoned. They're like, it was on the radio. We ain't got no radio. And it's like, you've got that crushing moment, that sinking feeling of, man, what? Like, are you kidding me? Because the graves have been dug. Those three guys start singing that lament, that really mournful kind of like song. And George Clooney drops to his knees and starts asking for God's help. You know, this guy that for the rest of the movie and even after never learns his lesson. You know, he says it's ridiculous, and he's always making fun of the boys for being saved. But that in that moment is when the dam has been sort of broken. And my favorite shot is that one of the three guys looking up, and you just see bits of water at the bottom of the camera, but it's just the idea of you are the wave about to take you over. Just and that other shot of it just coming through that cabin. Now, do you guys know the little connection with that cabin and a very famous movie directed by Sam Raimi?
It's the cabin from Cabin in the Woods.
It's the cabin from Evil Dead.
Yeah, I know.
Because that was Cohen, because Cohen was involved. Didn't he shoot that?
Right. They were roommates, right?
So
they were good friends. Yeah. So
it's a little nod to Evil
awesome.
Dead.
I was waiting for the Oldsmobile to show up.
It should have been in the floating right underwater.
Right. Yeah.
And so you get that. So the water comes over. There's amazing shots, and then you get that whole again the lament is still going, and you get all the Dapper Dan. You get the dog floating by. You know, it's just it's sold you a thing, sold you another thing, and then bang, had this extra thing. And the thing about it is, we should have seen it all coming. To be honest, you know, all those things. We knew all these things. We knew it was an ambush. We knew the dam was going to be done. We knew all this stuff. You know.
Well, there's even that character that picks them up at the beginning, who foretells the entire movie. Like this is. You seek a treasure. This is what's going to happen. You know,
you're going to see a cow on top of a barn, kind of thing. And it's like, and then you get that moment where George Clooney sees it, sees that. Then Tommy's holding on to the exact thing that they need. He's got the roll top desk so they can get the ring. And then already George Clooney's explaining it away as just, well, you guys thought, and it was like, this guy. You know? Yeah.
But that's again one of my favorite tropes in movies that they don't do enough. Is the idiot who does not change throughout the entire. It goes through an amazing experience and is the exact same person. Dumb and Dumber being like the other one we did on the show.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. Just I that's one of the funniest tropes ever. I love it big giant events that happen to somebody,
and
does
nothing
not
of value
phase
is
him
learned.
whatsoever.
Yeah, nothing of value is learned.
And we get that final little gag of he's like, well, here it is, and she goes, that's not my ring.
Yeah.
It's the ring. I got it. It's the one you said. She goes, well, I must have kept it somewhere else. Goes, well, that's at the bottom of the 9,000 hectare lake. And he goes, I don't care if it's 900,000. I've said my piece and counted the 3. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then it connects back to that guy going off in the background. This movie is brilliant. It's a brilliant movie.
After talking about it too, I really do need to go back and watch it. It much like every Coen Brothers movie, it's every rewatch adds another layer of value to it. And on a first watch, it just didn't connect with me in that way. So, but I have a new appreciation for it, and I can't wait to see it again.
See, that's interesting because you did, when we were on the text thread, I was like, I can't wait to hear what Ryan says about this, especially as I was watching it. And you were like, yeah. And I was like, it didn't want, I mean, like, it's the one that, because I don't know why. Kind of half watching it, or were you watching it?
I was half watching it.
Yeah, this is one that you've got to watch. It's like no phone in your hand kind of thing, no looking away, because there's so many shots and moments and looks and things that I think are just, it's perfect. It is, so I think it might be my favorite Coen Brothers movie, which I know is controversial considering some of the other gems out there, but it's such a fun watch for me.
Well, I had a blast watching it, but I definitely need to see it, really sit down and watch it again and appreciate it on a different level.
Yeah. Much like the next movie, the movie that we've been waiting to talk about, the movie that as soon as I finished watching, I kind of wanted to rewatch. A movie that, ladies and gentlemen, is available for free on YouTube. And honestly, I think maybe uploaded by the cinematographer, because the cinematographer's name is Alexander Gruzhenetsky, and it is uploaded to YouTube by someone with an extraordinarily Czech/Polishy name. I couldn't figure it out.
It was like Zeljko something or other.
Yeah.
Shivanovic.
It does sound like a Serbian war criminal of some kind. But it is
it's doing the Lord's work, though.
It is on HD. It is on YouTube. Yeah. It is stone cold, baby. Woo! This movie's. We were watching it and we're like going, my missus watched it with us. She fell asleep. I don't know how. But it is. We were just going, man, this is such a Will movie.
I put this on. And I said to Oli last night, I maybe watched the first 7 minutes of this movie like 10 times because it's so insane.
And that's the thing, that Will is a movie maker. He is a screenwriter. He has an incredible encyclopedic knowledge, a massive collection of Blu-rays going back through decades, and his favorite kind of movies.
Just utter trash. Just
pure
utter action trash.
So
it's great.
Will, why don't you tell us what the hell this movie's about?
The year is 1991.
It's so if you've seen the movie Cobra, this is this but better.
Agreed.
Which seems impossible. But yeah, it's one of the, I forget. I came across it because my roommate Ryan talked about this movie and he's like, oh, I love this. And I think I had seen something on YouTube where they were just like, this movie's crazy. And I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And then, when I watched it, I was like, I can't believe how insane this movie is. It is about an undercover cop who I guess is already on suspension. Like, they start off with like, my favorite trope, which is the angry chief, which is like, you're already suspended, And he's like, they started shooting Ritz crackers around me. What was I supposed to do?
And soft drinks. They really hated produce.
They hate all the food products. And I'll just say real quick, the stunts in this movie,
so
like,
good,
from the
top
opening,
notch,
amazing. They looked painful. Like the guy gets thrown into like the soda can stack.
The soda can stunt.
Oh my God. The motorcycle stunts, the helicopter. Ollie and I were like blown away by how good the stunt work was in this movie. It made no sense.
Yeah. And then once I learned it was the director of Action Jackson, I was like, that makes sense. Okay, now it all clicks. Because I don't think that guy cared about anyone's safety.
It's basically like David Leitch doing John Wick. It's a stuntman, action director making a movie, which is why the movie might not be the greatest movie in this case, but it is also amazing. But the action is top notch. The helicopter stunts were so dangerous.
Nuts that nobody got, as far as I could tell, nobody got injured and nobody died during this movie.
Wild. But anyway, get back to the plot. Whatever.
So because this guy is such an unhinged maniac, the FBI is like, he's the perfect guy to go and infiltrate the Brotherhood, the racist biker gang in Mississippi, because they're also unhinged maniacs. So they'll be able to smell it on you. And so they give him the name John Stone, I think, or Joe, because he's Joe.
Stone.
This is so confusing.
Right? His name is Joe Huff. Yeah.
And then they give him like John Stone, and I'm like, but if they don't know who he is, anyway.
Yeah.
The movie needs to be called Stone Cold. So then he goes undercover as a bike, with this, to get in good with the biker gang, and
within 5 minutes.
Yeah, within 5 minutes, they instantly. William Forsythe doesn't trust him. He's the only smart guy in the movie.
So good.
Everyone else is like, I like the cut of this guy's duster.
It's I mentioned the duster. I was like, it's good for ocular.
It's a good duster.
Yeah. That was one of the best reveals, like in movie history, like at that grocery store, and it just panning up, and he's got like the shoulder pads on his duster and the mullet. I was instantly like, I love this guy. Yeah. This is my favorite kind of main character.
I said to Oli last night, he looks like an Easter Island statue.
Yeah, he looks like somebody went back in time and just snatched a Neanderthal and dyed like their mullet blonde.
Well, he's got such a smooth face. I was like, he looks like you've given a baby that you've given human growth hormone to.
Right? Yeah, like a handsome Squidward type dude is kind of like his face structure.
This movie opens. First, you have the insane scene at the convenience store, which kind of sets everything in motion. And then you have this sort of montage of the criminal getting sent to prison. Then they go to it's the biker rally, right?
Well, they kill the judge.
That's after though, isn't it?
This is all during the credits. They give us
7 minutes.
All this exposition.
There's William Forsythe's character is on the beach surrounded by bikers, and they're shooting beer cans off of each other. They're firing live rounds into a crowd of people.
Yeah,
it is mental.
And oh my god, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, he shoots back fully automatic.
Yeah. The guy drops to the ground. Then it cuts to them laughing and giggling, and they're on the biker thing. Then they explode the judge on his boat.
Yeah.
In the most, everything explodes in this movie, which is one of my other favorite tropes.
Yes.
You shoot a motorcycle, it explodes. A car hits a motorcycle, it explodes. It's just everything explodes.
Yeah.
It's great.
You shoot a plant, it explodes. Yeah. It's fantastic. I love it.
This movie could have been 7 minutes long, and I would have absolutely loved it.
I did love it. The thing is, I was halfway. At some point, I was like, Ryan, I couldn't tell you if we had 45 minutes left, an hour left, or 5 minutes left.
I was like, guys, we are 10 minutes into this movie.
Yeah.
But then you get to meet Lance Henriksen's character. Well, and before that, you have his partner, whose name is Lance, which is confusing.
Yeah.
Show up to I love the banter they have. Like this rookie agent shows up to his house, and Brian Bosworth is wearing the most insane pair of underwear you've ever seen.
He's wearing the same thong that his girlfriend is wearing in the scene.
Yeah, for sure.
They shop at the same underwear store.
Oh, she's not wearing underwear.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
I'm sorry. You have him making what looks like the world's worst breakfast smoothie.
And
Ollie's like, what is he going to do? Feed it to his dog? And I'm like, yeah, in a way.
It's like peanut butter, and then it's like Snickers and banana bars. And chips.
And the way he grimaces at the banana is like Ron Swanson levels of just upset.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh.
Cracks the eggs, then throws the shell in, and then like my missus is like, why crack the egg?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I looked it up online. Apparently, that diet horrible for a monitor lizard. That will kill a monitor lizard. That's
It's just they're going, please feed me.
But the cutest thing, like he picks it up and like it's adorable. It's adorable.
Well,
the relationship he
FBI
has with the lizard is better than any relationship in this movie.
True. He loves that lizard. The FBI rookie, whatever, his FBI partner.
He's not. Yeah, he's just.
I like the character choice that he's phobic of everything and is a bit of a clean freak. It was quite just.
But smokes cigarettes.
Why not? And then smokes. It's like that doesn't quite make sense. Essentially, this movie is, I think, like Ryan sort of boiled it down, is if you take the biker scene from Hard Ticket to Hawaii, from Miami Connection, and then you take the plot of the first 10 minutes of Homefront, is basically this movie.
And then you pepper in a little bit of Point Break here and there. We for sure thought they were gonna. that he was going to hang out with William Forsythe at his place, and he also has a monitor lizard, and they were just going to become best friends.
They were going to fall in love. Yeah.
There was a lot of homoerotic are they, will they, won't they, with basically every character. All the guys definitely want to fuck Brian Bosworth.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's really, like, even Mrs. was like, God, just get it over and done with already. Jeez. Suck each other off.
Bosworth is not picking up on any of their cues. It must take Light 10 minutes to reach like his brain. Like he's so thick and just the dumbest guy.
It's so funny that you could take this exact movie and literally put in at that time any like WWF wrestler. Like this could have been a Hulk Hogan, you make it a little more modern. You could have put in like an actual Stone Cold Steve Austin and call it Stone Cold, and it still would have worked. Or a Dolph Lundgren or a Van Damme. Like this movie is just a fucking template of a million other movies, but it's such a fun watch.
You know, you say that, but the other part is that, you know, kind of like Will said, it's like Cobra but better. I agree. Cobra's a piece of shit. And it's like, and Sylvester Stallone.
Well, hang on.
You know, I know, but like, it's a special kind of piece of shit.
Yeah.
But Brian Bosworth, I was expecting would be terrible. And the thing is, he's not. He's actually got a bit of personality. He's quite fun. He plays with it. It's like the bit that you believe is when his partner turns up, his future partner, wakes him up at 6 a.m, and we're all watching it and we're joking, oh, you wait, there's going to be 3 naked chicks in his bed. And then suddenly there's a naked chick in his bed. And we're like, yes!
We were so upset that it was just one.
Yeah, we're like,
that is disappointing.
There should have been 3. There definitely should have been 3.
That was definitely cut due to like the director change. Like there should have been half a dozen naked women in there.
Yeah.
And he was just like, it's a Wednesday, so that's why it's light.
I can't believe Stallone left this project to make Cliffhanger. It's crazy this came out in 91 because it looks like an 80s, a very 80s kind of action film, you know?
It's got the 80s for sure. It's got
maybe it's the whole biker thing just wasn't
80s boobs just keep turning up, just women showering for no reason. It's just,
oh my god, that scene. Okay, so I gotta talk about that. There's that panning shot where it's on the bikers. You see like, you know, Confederate flags, Nazi flags, the bikers, and then panning. You got women showering like out in like
what's your point?
Public. Yeah, I mean, it's like, oh, okay, and then children. Yeah. And then it pans. There's like little kids in strollers, and I'm
again, what's your point?
Just like somebody surely must have been arrested making this movie,
right? Nazis gonna Nazi. But they pan by, and the thing is, it's a bunch of bikers. It's a biker group, but the 3 girls showering are all penthouse like level. I'm like, no, that's not right. Where are the biker boobs? And then the next shot, they're like playing pool.
They're playing pool,
and there's some biker girl boobs. It's just like you know, and she's just shaking her tits. And you're like,
we thought Brian Bosworth was gonna walk in, grab her boob, and say, "Ma'am," move on.
Nice to meet you, ma'am. Nice to meet you. So there you go. The Mississippi of this movie is that
this takes place in Mississippi.
And actually, when you get into it actually was shot around Mississippi. I was and that incredible end scene at that state capitol. So much production value. They're shooting inside, outside.
Dude.
It wasn't the Mississippi State Capitol. They were booked to shoot there. They ended up actually having to shoot at the Arkansas State Capitol. Just a little FYI. But it was shot.
So we can watch this movie again for Arkansas.
Yeah, 100%. But it was shot around the Mississippi Gulf Coast and things like that. But it's around Biloxi. So the Brotherhood, the Nazis, they're around Biloxi, and that comes into play because we've got this kind of like National Guard / military base, which is like, you know, down in Biloxi, which is actually a plot point. Like I said, this movie isn't bad. I'm enjoying this movie. It's like Lance Henriksen is killing it as the bad guy. William Forsythe, killing it. It's silly and it's a 90s action movie, but it's a good one. I'm amazed I haven't heard of it before, is my kind of whole thing. But it's like, it comes down essentially to, there is a big plot going down. They're just trying to bust them because they know, you know, just trying to bust them for whatever they can. He sets up kind of like a drug sting. He's got the witness, which is Lance Henriksen's girlfriend. They got them on 2 murders of National Guardsmen and stuff. But what's also happening is there's this grand plan that you don't really see that's being put together about rescuing their guy that got arrested during the credits, and breaking him out, which sets up just awesome action scene towards the end, which we will
It's
get
so
to.
good. It's like in any other time like this. I think people were just burnt out on movies like this, and also it's starring Brian Bosworth, who, it's not a
who's
name you would
fine in the
normally see.
role, but he's this was, as it says, his debut film.
Yeah, it's like it's almost as though he wrote and he might as well have written and directed this movie, because he's essentially playing himself in it. Like, he's got all of his logos and all of this stuff. It's him on his motorcycle. It's his monitor lizard.
There is a lot of
insane.
him in this movie.
But not enough.
God. Yeah.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Give me more.
Yeah.
God, yeah. And Lance Henriksen, like that, I feel bad for that, because I feel like he never quite got his due.
Yeah.
And he's a phenomenal actor. Like, even in
Crushes
movies
it.
I don't really care for, like Near Dark or something, which is a great concept, but not a great film in my opinion. He just kills it every time.
We were talking about The Quick and the Dead last night. He's so good in that. And the minor role that he has,
His show, like Millennium, which is a spinoff of X-Files, I think, was like really good, and that was short-lived.
Aliens.
Aliens. I mean, so it's like,
in this movie he kills it, and he also, for a Nazi, pretty good looking. Like, he pulls off the biker look pretty well. I mean,
in incredible shape at his age at this time, because this is also around the same time he did Hard Target.
I know you're saying at his age, but I bet if we Google it, he's probably younger.
36.
He was 29.
Like, we're such old farts now. It's like, I keep forgetting I'm not 22. That great line, it's in moments like this that I think of my father's last words, which were, "Don't, son, that gun is loaded." Oh
God, awesome! That's like a stand-up and cheer line. That is like so
and we did.
We did.
We were trying to predict every next line, thinking it would be some ham-fisted, like typical action movie, like Schwarzenegger or McBain style line.
Yeah.
And we were so wrong.
No, Bosworth's answer to everything in this movie is to shoot it until it blows up. That's the equivalent of his one-liners. To the point where, like,
there's a bit at the end where a guy, like, he gets off the motorcycle and he's chasing him down this hallway on the motorcycle, and Brian Bosworth is just gun and just blasts him. It's the weirdest showdown.
My favorite part is where they're like, he's on a motorcycle and he's following that semi truck.
Yeah, and
he like shoots the trailer off the semi truck, and I'm like, no, that's
what else
not,
do you do?
That's not how anything works. And then it crashes into that gas station.
And just huge explosion.
A RoboCop style, like, gas station explosion.
And like, honestly, it probably would have been best if you could have got that material back to the government that you borrowed it from. But no, at least they didn't get to sell it to anybody. And all it cost was the lives of everybody in that gas station.
It's a Crazies style explosion. It takes out an entire county.
This is cool. The cops said those people didn't even matter. They were like nothing. They didn't matter.
But the stunt work. There's that truck and the bike driving away from that explosion. The bike chase with William Forsythe, whatever his name is, am I forgetting his name?
And he was the only time where I'm like, you could tell it's not him on that
wasn't
bike.
him?
But it was
because there were a bunch of shots where, like,
he's
it was
wearing
like his hair,
the wig is being held down by
It's like, so that was definitely a subject of reshoots.
William Forsythe.
You can tell it's reshoot as well, because there's palm trees in the background from it's LA. Like, that is definitely LA. But the bike chase, though, shot well, bike handling well done. You know what I mean? It's like
him firing a gun that seemingly has no magazine in it.
It was cool. I think it was a drum magazine on the top. I'm intrigued as to what that weapon was.
Yeah, it was like a Tommy handgun. I did not understand what that was.
I turned up expecting a hard ticket to Hawaii, and what I got was a banger.
Hard ticket to Mississippi. Yeah.
So this is one I will rewatch.
It was super fun.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that held it the reason it wasn't a huge action hit is probably because it was starring Brian Bosworth. People weren't ready for the Boz.
Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so one, Michael Douglas was an executive producer on the film, but received no credit at his request.
He just wanted to bring something beautiful into this world. He didn't want the credit for it.
And now his lawyers are going to be in contact with us on this podcast.
Did they give away the secret?
Lance Henriksen wrote his own lines for every scene.
Great. Fuck yes. More of that. Yeah.
He should be allowed to do that on every movie.
That's crazy because they're so good. Like,
yeah. God, he's just awesome. Like, that's one guy where, you know, and I've talked about it with my friends before. It's not impossible to get him on our movies. And I have friends who have gotten him before. So that is something that's always in the back of my head where I'm like, I really want to write something where I get Lance Henriksen, even for just a day, just to like work with him because he's just so awesome.
Do it kind of like the Wayne's World 2 way, where you know, it's the cashier at a gas station and suddenly this guy's not working. And they bring in Charlton Heston, and he's like, you know, just kills it for that scene. It's like,
to be honest, you probably got a better shot of getting Brian Bosworth than one of your movies.
Well, that's probably got a better chance of getting Charlton Heston. And he's deep.
We do make a lot of horror movies, so we need some skeletons. But this movie, and the other thing about this movie is it has genuine, like, shocking, like, twists. Like, there's like Lance Henriksen's girlfriend, who Bosworth is trying to like flip her.
Yeah.
You know,
totally setting up that it's going to be kind of like he's going to rescue her kind of moment, or they're going to end up together, and she's in the situation. Yeah, go Will.
Yeah, so you're just, but then it gets the situation where Bosworth, his cover is blown, and the girlfriend's there, and you know, it's that whole situation where it's like, okay, how is he going to get out of the situation? He has to save the girl and stuff. He doesn't. No. Lance Henriksen just shoots her straight in the head.
Yeah,
we talked about that. I'm like, I over under on her. Everyone in this movie just getting shot almost immediately. Like the discovery, the guy at the beginning when they kidnap him, fake cut his ear off because he's got the tattoo,
right?
And he throws it to Lance Henriksen. He's like, here, put it with the rest of them. Like he's just got a sack of ears. That guy then comes back later and then is shot immediately.
Yeah. The thing is, my money was on Lance, the FBI agent partner, definitely died.
I for sure thought there was going to be another like undercover agent. I thought it was probably William Forsythe's character. Like this movie, you think is really predictable, but it's not.
Interestingly, not. No, it's the thing I keep saying. It. Like this movie's like got this reputation as like an absolute piece of shit, but it's better than so many other classic action movies. I'm like, no, definitely. This is legit.
But let's talk about the courtroom battle.
Yeah, let's talk about the last 20 minutes.
Because then you have the one thing I just want to say, because you have this then Departed style level of weird double cross where Brian Bosworth has to supply this P2P shipment, but he's got an inside man, and he's like, I got to make them think this is real. So he puts a bulletproof vest on, shoots him. Or Lance Henriksen shoots him. They think he's dead, and they take the money, and then go ahead, please.
What's the thing? It was squibs.
So he opens his jacket and it's just circuit boards.
Yeah. It's the strangest looking thing. But so that's, you know, how they get get him on the P2P shipment, like the theft of that is, you know, they set him up for that. They're making
Crank at the time. Crank.
Yeah, which I don't know why movies feel the need to do this. Like so many times I'll see a movie where it's like a brand new drug is on the market, and I'm like, the same drugs have kind of sold well for 1,000 years. I don't think you need to invent a new drug. People are always going to want heroin and crack. Like,
well, hang on. What's the drug in 21 Jump Street? Because that shit's funny as hell.
Well, that's funny. Yeah.
Wi-Fi. Work hard, yes. Play hard, yes.
Yeah.
But you're right.
I forgot where we were going with that.
The crank. Yeah.
He was setting up basically that sets up the moment because that's the guy that then turns up in the courthouse and is like, dude.
But I know we're going back and we're jumping all over the place, but even before that, they show up to the senator's or like very posh restaurant, and they give him a gift, which is basically the plot of Seven. He opens it up and it's a motorcycle helmet, but then they lift up the visor and it's just a guy like.
That's
I was waiting for the eyes to move, just like
that would have been great. That's when they were meeting with the mafia. So that's the big thing with the FBI is if we set up this moment and this deal, we can take down the Brotherhood and the mafia all in one go, but they get hoisted by their own petard. And then suddenly we realize that Lance Henriksen has been putting together, he's been putting a team together, Ryan, of all the bad guys. They steal a helicopter or bribe a helicopter out of Biloxi. And then we get that reveal of everyone's getting wanded to get into the courthouse. The Supreme Court are meeting, and it pans around. It comes up, and we've got the collar of a priest and Lance Henriksen now looking.
The only one to do it better was Nicolas Cage in Face Off.
Yep,
I was about to make that same exact comparison.
But oh my
God,
God,
saw this movie and copied it.
It's so good. It's so good.
And this is where it gets so surprising, because it kind of it reminded me of the first 10 minutes of Toy Soldiers, where it becomes like an absolute bloodbath. But like, these guys have actually pulled off a pretty good thing, that they get the truck in, they attack I love it. They attack the Supreme Court via motorbike.
They get so many motorcycles inside this building. It's fucking crazy.
You've got the helicopter that's coming in while there's a fight going on with Bosworth. You get that incredible shot from another helicopter of an actual fight going on in an actual helicopter. Then you get the helicopter going along, low level. I mean, guys, there was so much to this action scene.
I was just thinking, I'm like, this could have just as easily been like a Jack Reacher movie. Like, it's got that template for it, the way the action's shot, but like a raw 90s Jack Reacher movie.
Yeah.
Starring Brian Bosworth as Jack Reacher. Guys, oh my God.
I'd be down. I'd be 100%. That's basically how Jack Reacher is described anyway. Is how Brian Bosworth
absolutely screamed.
An Easter Island.
Easter Island.
What did I say last night? He looks like one of the engineers from Prometheus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just these bulbous features, like a retired boxer.
But it must be said, so Bosworth being our hero, of course, this is the big showdown scene. Of course he's going to save, all these people, the governor, the district attorney, the Supreme Court. Of course he's going to save them all. No. They all get mowed down pretty much immediately.
Are you now you're talking about after he jumps out of a helicopter, through a window, smashes into a wall, and then just proceeds to murder everybody.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is that he softens the blow by landing into a marble
directly on his face.
But the hardest stone that you can literally impact. That's the honesty. And I joked, that's ridiculous to me, that the only unrealistic part of this movie really is him jumping out the helicopter.
That's where you checked out.
So then Will points out is that, again, this movie subverts your expectations, because Henriksen takes out the district attorney and the entire Mississippi Supreme Court, and they get their guy sort of out of there. Then I'm going, whoa! What?
Their escape plan was, it's so fucking nuts. It's
they were getting on the helicopter.
Yeah, no, I know. It's him stealing the helicopter. This logistically, the movie just fucking works. It shouldn't. It shouldn't.
What is incredible to me, just truly incredible, is the level of access that they were given to this state capitol to shoot this movie. Because there are scenes where you are 3 floors up looking down. There are bikes driving around. There's explosions and gunfire and stuff. There's shots from outside. Which we'll get to, the final shot of the whole movie is, what were they thinking? Do you guys want to fly a helicopter up, blow a bunch of things up, drive some bikes in? Done. And who in Arkansas was like, this is what we want. Do it.
Yeah. They were like, you directed Action Jackson, right? Yeah, you get a free reign, do whatever you like.
Wild. I couldn't even imagine something like that being shot like that today.
No.
Yeah. No, just absolutely insane. And again, all the stunt work is just, the guy who falls on top of the car.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That I can't figure out if that was a dummy, or if it was a dummy, it's the best dummy I've ever seen.
It's so good.
Or it's just a stuntman that's getting his money, because you think about the Untouchables. Yeah, that bit where what's his face, Nitty goes in the car. This one, guys at home, if you haven't seen it, it is a shot from there's the car. You're looking at the car, and a guy, it's a proper car. It looks like it. A body just falls onto it and just crushes it, and you're like, wow. The amount of times Ryan and I were like, wow.
I could not believe how good the stunt work looked, and
Yeah.
This movie shouldn't work at all, and yet it works on so many levels.
Yeah, I'm annoyed.
It was
I'm annoyed.
bewildering. Yeah, I am upset about how much I enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, it should have made more money. I'm annoyed it flopped. You know, the bit where the bike sends the bike out the window to take out the helicopter. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. That's what James Cameron did in Terminator
True
2.
Lies.
Wait a minute.
Or True, yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing missing was like a True Lies level, like Schwarzenegger line delivery.
You've been fired.
Yeah, we literally said that out loud last night. But honestly, I think it would have. I liked how not hammy it was, and like it took itself very seriously
while being silly, but never leaning into the ridiculous ever. Apart from, like I said, jumping out the helicopter moment. You know, and also tying Brian Bosworth up with string. Like, and he goes, wait a minute, I could just break out. It's like,
he rips out the fuel line and sprays him.
Yeah, but that's the same thing that they use in Mission Impossible Fallout. You know what I mean? It's like all of these things that I'm like, what? These guys did it first.
Yeah,
better.
Are all of these big time directors like, is this their fucking like their secret sauce? They just like go back to the well, watch this, and they're like, I've got it. Convenience store shootout.
They all pass stone cold to each other.
Actually, I mentioned Terminator 2. I clocked it with Ryan. This guy was on, and I know Will, I know you know this one as well, but it was the moment of like, they're just hanging out in the biker bar and this guy's talking. I go, I know that guy. I know that guy. And it took me about 5 minutes. I go, it's the guy from Terminator 2, the clothes, the boots, the motorcycle guy. Because it's those cheeks, man.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I was so happy when we found out we were right. And like, it was just all these little connections. And I wonder if James Cameron saw Stone Cold. I wonder if he's like, you know what? I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it even bigger.
Well, that guy's also in Near Dark, where he plays, surprise, a biker.
Get out.
So I think that this guy, he was friends with Gail Ann Hurd and Cameron and oh my God, now I'm spacing on her name. The director, Zero Dark 30, the director.
Catherine Bigelow.
Thank you. Yes, Catherine Bigelow. Oh my God, I can't believe I totally spaced on that. But like was friends with them and stuff. So I think just because he was like in with this crowd, they were like, hey, we need a scuzzy looking biker. And he's like, I'm available, you know, and like for a bunch of movies. Because I looked at his filmography. I think that's all he did was just scuzzy bikers.
His picture on IMDb is him getting stabbed in the hand by stabbing Schwarzenegger. It's just it's that picture and then the one picture from this movie.
Phenomenal.
Like, I always like that bit where he gets thrown on the
stove.
And his reaction to that is.
Can we briefly talk about William Forsythe's funeral scene, which is him?
Yes.
I am going to write this down. That's what I want my funeral to be like.
He is set up in a Viking-style pyre, sitting on his motorcycle, which they then set ablaze.
And they put a cigar in his mouth, kind of thing. He's sitting there with sunglasses on. I was like, that was dope.
Weekend at Bernie's style.
And like the way that they take him out as well. I mean, God, remember like the bit really early on where they're just collecting money and the only biker that looks like me. You know, he's like all these other gruff bikers, and there's just this guy, this just sort of guy that gets blown up, and then he gets
grenaded
in the hospital.
Oh my God.
And he's just a mess. That's great makeup.
But they lift up the gown, and his dick is still there.
Yeah, and so they go, now this girl's gonna take care of you, right? And I'm like, what the
Jesus Christ. They bring him to his hospital. They bring him a Domino's pizza, and a bottle of Jack Daniels.
Yeah. And
this guy has
a girl to marry him.
This guy has no hands and no face.
But a penis. So it's good. It's gonna be no problem. I mean, there's the tweaky guy that gets his fingers like stumped, you know, that he then gets taken out.
Unceremoniously, like I wanted it, like
he's just done. I was like, I thought that's what I mean. Is that anytime you thought that character's going to team up with it,
you get the trope.
Okay,
you have the trope. It's also in a Time to Kill You of the Klansman with a heart of gold, like who's just like, I don't know, guys. You may think maybe we gone too far.
This is one step too far.
Yeah,
you know,
no, you're gonna get fucking
like I thought it was a practical joke. They were putting the guardsmen inside those weird boxes and then shooting them. Like, wouldn't it be easier to shoot first and then just put them in a box? I'm like,
well, you ever try and lift it to 2 dead bodies?
Wait a minute.
Yeah, that was so strange. This movie is just, Again, can't say it enough. It's free on YouTube because no copyright holder gives a shit.
No, and there's no ads either. To be clear.
Yeah, YouTube doesn't put a single ad on that video. It was brilliant.
Nobody's going to monetize this.
And it's funny. You look. I think the video had something like 3.6 million views. So people are watching this movie.
For like good. 3.5 million will.
Yeah, this is just me putting it on repeat.
And I love it on YouTube. You can see like the spikes where in the timeline where it's the most popular, and it's just all the tits.
That's my favorite secret feature on YouTube, is like just going to like watch like any video, and anytime you see the spikes, you're just like, I wonder. And 90% of the time, it's like people pause it on TNA.
It's a great movie. And another one, just to say, like, get all your friends together and watch this movie together. It's such
Well, we got two more things to talk about. One is that Lance Henriksen. We get the Die Hard ending.
Oh, yeah.
It's like and it's like, without it being a cheesy line, like he just beats him up and then throws him down the stairs, and then we get like his partner out of nowhere. And like Will says, it is the exact sequence of shots, same reveal shot as the end of Die Hard. But my favorite part of it was, so we've had a breach of the state capitol, a murder of the district attorney, the entire Supreme Court's been wiped out. We've had explosions. We've had all kinds of people dead. We've had dead police and things like that. And the FBI comes up and they're like, "Good job, mission well done."
Accomplished.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. By the way, no, mission completely failed on every level. Like, the Supreme Court is dead. The DA is dead.
And we didn't even capture the bad guy because we just executed him in the Supreme Court.
Didn't get the mafia. Like, nothing was accomplished. And he just walks out of the courthouse
in insane
covered in blood.
In an insane oneer. Like, that was fucking nuts. Just to point out too, like, this movie, the camera work, this movie looked fucking great. Not just the stunts, but it looked real good.
I mean, that's the thing that I like, that last shot that I'm talking with Ryan, and we're like going, look, like, it comes from the door for the entire credits. He's walking. So then you get the reveal of the state capitol. You've got hundreds of extras running around. You've got all kinds of stuff going on. He's playing it with his face. And I'm like, look at this shot. Look at this movie. I'm like, it's wild. Absolutely wild.
Yeah.
It is bewildering how this movie got
covered in blood. His nipples are out. He looks like he's, been through, he just looks like a zombie at that point. And it's like, our hero, ladies and gentlemen, he saved no one.
He failed in every way.
I like that. I like that his character wardrobe was just his own personal wardrobe.
Pretty much.
I mean, every duster he had was more luxurious than the next. Like, the pads kept getting weirder, and the little skunk thing on one side. So fucking cool. The duster game was on point. The sunglasses game was on point. The mullet game was on point. Like, everything in this movie was just great.
Even that bike, the bike that he's riding, is the bike he built. Because he was comfortable on it. That is his bike that he made look like a child's bike, because he is such a slab of meat.
He looks like Schwarzenegger, like, on that motorcycle. It's wild.
This movie rips. It's awesome. I mean, in all the ways that it is bad, it is amazing. And in every moment where you think it's gonna be just,
I see, that's the thing. I don't think it's bad at all. I think it just has a bad rap. Like, it just,
you know what I mean? It's not gonna win any Oscars, but it is what it is.
You always throw, obviously, it's a straight up 90s action movie, but it does everything so uniquely and so well. And
should we make it official? It gets our Ron Seal Quick Drying Wood Stain Award. It does exactly what it says on the tin, because we do bring that up.
Absolutely.
Would have watched like 10 more of these movies too. Like, if the end title was like much like a James Bond, John Stone will return.
John Stone.
Dude, I went to see if there was. I was so disappointed when I sort of Googled, looked up Brian Bosworth, looked at it, and I was like, he never really made any more movies. I was like, they would have. I wish this movie had succeeded, because I could have eaten up 3 more of them. Absolutely. Yeah. Just bring the schlock and the tits and the explosions, and I'm like, plug it into my vein.
I love this genre of like straight 90s action movies, and I love that we get a little bit of a resurgence of it with like Gerard Butler movies and the Statham movies. So, but those are almost so over the top, where it really plays itself very seriously.
I'm disappointed he didn't turn up in Expendables.
He would have been absolutely perfect.
Good point. As John Stone.
All right, fellas.
Yeah, not his name in the movie.
No one gets his name right. All right, fellas. It's time to cut to the quick on this one. It's time to try and answer the question. The reason that we are here is to try and find the Mississippi, the movie that defines Mississippi, and it's obviously Stone Cold. Thanks for listening to the podcast. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Honestly,
but okay. So in this particular case, we've got pretty interesting sort of thing because, like I said, A Time to Kill, irrelevant of the very sort of dark sort of subject matter, is absolutely, it is set in where it is shot. It is, that courthouse is the real courthouse. They are in, Canton County. They're in Canton, Mississippi. They shot in Jackson, Mississippi. Mississippi is everywhere in that movie. But then you've also got Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? That as much as it is kind of like, a sort of magical story, based on this classic, it is also, very, very much Mississippi. It's dripping with it. The music is the biggest part of it. You again get the sort of the real variety and color of people and everything that exists in the state. It's just as sweaty as A Time to Kill. But though at the same time, it is shot in Canton, Mississippi as well as though being shot in areas of South Carolina. And then you get Stone Cold, which, forgets that there's any people of color whatsoever in Mississippi, but it is being shot on the Mississippi
probably Gulf. For the best.
Yeah, considering the Nazis. It's like, and what it was going to be shot in the Mississippi state capital was shot in Arkansas. But I mean, where do we begin on this? Because I mean, honestly, I know that we can just go, okay, we'll put Stone Cold over there on its little pedestal of explosions. But with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou and A Time to Kill, like, I don't need to say like represents Mississippi again, because it's more just like the Mississippi of it. They are both very. So what do you guys think?
Just because it's still so prescient, even when I was watching it, I think, again, just to point out, it's very important the order in which you watch these movies, much like we talked about them here. Definitely watch Time to Kill first, then Oh Brother, and then just end your, like, the sweetest dessert with Stone Cold.
Yes.
But I think
absolutely.
for me, from my point of view, I think if you take the subject matter out of it, I think A Time to Kill still felt the most grounded version of Mississippi,
I agree. I mean, I'm gonna fight the little corner. I'm gonna put the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou of it all is you'll get the same sort of stuff. While A Time to Kill is the literal reality. Again, outside of the racial tensions thing. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, as mystical as it is, you get the both sides of the tracks idea, the way that different people live. Sure. The Southern gent, you get the people talking, you get the outdoorsness, the sweatiness, the music, the culture that all comes. I think the musical part of it, especially. Yeah,
that's the only thing A Time to Kill didn't have was a killer soundtrack.
Not at all. It's just like classic sort of orchestral kind of thing. But there's no point.
Was Elliot Gold's? Oh my God!
Yeah, you're so close. I know you're circling.
Elliot Goldenthal.
Yes, there you go. Well done.
Yeah,
you get a point. There we go, a nerd point. But yeah, is the music part of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou brings that element of culture.
Yeah.
That A Time to Kill doesn't. So how do you guys feel about it now?
Yeah, you're right. I think if A Time to Kill had more dance numbers, maybe some more.
Only had the three.
Yeah, so biker explosions. Yeah, I can contest with that. That I think it paints a better picture. It rounds it all out a little bit better.
I mean, I think you're right. I mean, A Time to Kill is like, it is so Mississippi. I mean, it's crazy, but like part of me just is so charmed by Oh Brother. So Will, where are you landing on this? If you just go straight up Stone Cold, aren't you?
100%.
He hasn't been listening this whole time.
Just be like, both of these guys are wrong.
Wait, what?
He's been on YouTube looking at tits.
Are we recording? Yeah. I think I would say, A Time to Kill is definitely the more grounded, more very real visceral version of it. But I think you get a little bit more out of Oh Brother, because while it's not grounded and it's not realistic, I think it encapsulates more of Mississippi in a way. You get the folklore, you get the music, you get the people. You also get the ugly racism, even though it's played for laughs. That is also in there. But I think it gets. I'm thinking of it, if I live in Mississippi, what do I want like more to be a representation of where I live? And I would think it would probably be Oh Brother more.
I definitely had watching A Time to Kill made me feel horrible, like at times, like that. Just the opening alone, I don't want to feel that. Like, it's a movie I'm in no rush to watch that movie again for a long time. Oh Brother, on the other hand, was because it was so so fun and folksy in that way, and it still was able to capture all of those elements. Definitely was a much more enjoyable watch, and I think would be hailed as much a better representation, or a lighter representation, so to speak, like just a little more.
Because I like what you said, is that yes, it does touch on the racial stuff as well, So I think I'm with you guys, and I think that while it is a bit mystical and magical, even the dogs agreeing. See, is that
it's settled.
The Oh Brother, I think it's definitely the right choice. I think what I'm interested in is what we can do next time, because even though we threw stones, we threw darts, we all landed on movies that all touch on those racial troubles.
Mississippi, get your shit together.
I would love to find just a sweet or a romantic or a fun or an adventurous or child coming of age or something like that from Mississippi.
Stone Cold.
Exactly. Does Win Dixie take place in Mississippi? Something like
100%. So
I'm curious to know what your also rants were on this. But yes, it's for sure. I agree. I think Oh Brother is the right choice.
All right. We're gonna do it. So we're gonna say it officially here on the United States of a Movie, that the movie to represent Mississippi for the rest of time, until such time as we can find another movie that we see as better, is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, 2000. You can find it. I don't know if you can find it on streams. I own it.
No.
But if you've never seen it, it's definitely one to find. It's a great fun watch.
I'm glad we were able to rally together and pick a winner that we all agree on. And then poor choice of words. Edit that out.
But also at the same time, if you've not seen Stone Cold, could not more highly recommend getting your friends together, cracking some beers, and having a good time.
Yeah.
But also, if you're looking for a courtroom drama with a stacked cast, that is still a very good movie. You
can't go wrong with any of these movies.
No, they were great. They were 3 banger movies. They were so different as well, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But I think the most important part, like Ryan said, is the order in which you watch them. If you're going to do it.
Very much so.
Do it in the order that we talked about it. Were there any also rants? Because surprisingly, I mean, like, I was just straight to A Time to Kill. But then my other one was Oh Brother. But when we were looking, even Mrs. was looking, when she looked at Mississippi, this is another one of those states where there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of movies. Were there other ones that you guys were circling? Because I think, Will, you went straight to Stone Cold, didn't you?
He's been talking about that since episode 1. He's like, oh man, I can't wait to get to
for a while now, I've been like, I can't wait till we get to Mississippi.
Yes.
I'm going to throw a Stone Cold grenade on them. But no, I think that's the one I landed on pretty quick.
Yeah.
One of you was into Mississippi Burning, like bringing that up.
I thought it was an important choice.
I've never seen
it.
But I don't think I could have brought myself to watch it as well. Like, that would have been even worse than A Time to Kill. So
and like I said, when you Googled it, like Mud came up, but that isn't really necessarily set in Mississippi.
Mississippi Grind, Ben Mendelsohn and Deadpool. I've been
meaning to watch
that.
Biloxi Blues with Matthew Broderick is another one.
Oh, okay.
A movie I only know by title and nothing else.
Think there was a Private Benjamin as well, because she's at Biloxi. I used to love that movie as a kid, but then the second half of the movie takes place in Paris. All right, so I think that next time around, I'm really interested in where we can go with Mississippi. I think a little bit of a deeper dive into Stone Cold 2, stuff like that. we'll see where we end up. Now we get to the point of the show where we try to figure out where we're going next week. Now, I haven't actually really thought about this, but there is a thing happening right now. The reason Will wasn't able to watch Stone Cold with us is because he was at Paramount watching this movie. It's a big movie. It's a monster movie. It's also a hugely movie from runtime. But much like when Oppenheimer came out, that we did New Mexico, right now, Killers of the Flower Moon, Scorsese's new movie, the Apple movie that will be in theaters for a while before coming to streaming, is currently in theaters. So I think, and the thing is, this is a state that has some absolute bangers as well. I'm pretty sure I know which one I'm picking. But let's go to the state of Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Oh, dirty wrong standards. But yeah, absolutely is. Let's go to the state of Oklahoma. I think, Will, you've already chosen your movie because you saw it, last night.
Cheater.
Yeah, I think it's let's go watch this 3.5-hour Scorsese movie. Let's talk about it next week, seeing as it's in theaters, but let's also pick a couple of blinders to go up against it. What do you guys think?
I think that's good. Solves my problem for this week.
Yeah, wait a minute. I have to go spend money to do a thing.
Yeah, you have to go and spend 3.5 hours.
Deal breaker.
I do, having seen it, I absolutely recommend. It is not surprising for me. Recommend go see it in theaters.
Is it not out in theaters yet?
No, I think it's out now.
Okay.
But it does not feel like 3.5 hours. From the movie when it started, I was just kind of like, okay, and going along with it. And I will say, like, when it got to the end, I was like, oh, we're done.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, just a quick Google, Ryan. Yeah, I could go and see it in an hour and a half. It's in theaters right now. So as you're listening to this, if you haven't seen it and you want to watch it with us, and we'll be talking about it next week, Killers of the Flower Moon. Of course, the official movie for Mississippi is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? The only thing left to do is to thank Ryan and Will, as always, for your great comments, commentary, but also fantastic movie choices, especially Stone Cold. What a banger, Will.
I'm about to throw it on again.
I agree. I think that's the best way to spend the weekend. And the only thing left to say is if you are listening to us or watching us right now, a huge help is to rate, is to review. Just click. It takes 2 seconds. Just give us that 5 stars that you know we deserve. Share it with your friends. Post it on your social media. Help us out. We are slowly growing. Also, reach out to us. We've had some people reaching out on Facebook recently, which is great. United States of a Movie. You can find us on Reddit, United States of a Movie as well. You can find me as Oli_Pettigrew. You can also find me as That Englishman in Texas. You can find Will as Entitled Willennial. And if you're looking for great merch, interesting things, and fun designs, you can find Ryan on Threadless as Rhino Digital, RYNO Digital. We've got some more stuff coming. He's already been describing it. The only thing left is to thank all of you at home who have been listening and watching for joining us for this episode of the United States of a Movie podcast.